Yes, indeed. We are here. We are live. Welcome back, everyone, to another Freaky Friday right here on Truth Frequency with me, Kev Baker, one of your trusty hosts for the next 3 hours of live radio on Truth Frequency Radio, www.tfrlive.com. Scotty Lopez, he is here. He's riding shotgun today. Scotty, looking forward to yet another amazing Freaky Friday before we embark on another Freaky Friday, should I say.
Yes, I love how lately there's this announcement on my chin that lets everybody know what my name is.
It's Skype, dude. You just can't get rid of that. It's a thing. It's a thing. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, Mr. Baker.
In case I forget who you are, Scott, sometimes Dave takes over. Dave doesn't know you as well as Kev does, so it keeps him right, dude. Keeps him right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was wondering if something was going wrong with my goatee, you know, my facial hair, if it was
You're growing
starting
characters,
to spawn.
just randomly growing a font off your chin.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. That's what I was wondering. But hey, it's all good, man. It's all good.
And it's Friday. Are you ready to get your freak on?
Oh, definitely. I'm always ready to get my freak on. My freaky on. Freaky.
You're freaky 24/7, 365, dude. Right? That's what it is. Yep. And we've got a kind of strange one tonight because we've got a digital avatar in place of our third member of the Woo Crew today. Spooky Andy will be with us very, very shortly. And Spooky Andy, he is wanting to get into time. And I mean get into time. Literally, into timelines, time travel. Our ability or the way that we subconsciously already travel through the timelines, all that good kind of woo. Glitches in the Matrix. Andy's on his way home from work right now. So until then, we've got his avatar here. We'll not speak to him until he gets here, obviously, because I'm not going to put on a voice for Andy. That would just get ridiculous. But Scotty, it's going to be a good one when we get into that. My brain, I remember talking about this the other day. My brain really, it starts to kind of hurt in a good way when you talk about time travel, different concepts of what time is, people's like different ideas. And I think, you know, and I run the risk of sounding kind of repetitive here, but I put time and the conversations about it that we have right at the upper limits of our quantum processor. It's almost beyond its reach. So this is going to be interesting.
And it's very interesting because, you know, like, well, when we talk about the topic of time and all of that, I have to put it on par, you know, as far as, you know, interest, because it's, you know, it's a very interesting, deep sort of topic. I kind of put it on par with like parallel dimensions and things of that realm. I mean, we start getting into like the quantum woo when we start talking about time and all that stuff, because it all ties together, and it's very interesting, very synchronistic. Because last night I was watching a thing on YouTube where they have like an expert in a field. I don't know if you've seen these videos, but they have like an expert in a field that
a YouTube expert. Say it isn't so, Scott.
they have an expert in a field that that kind of tries to explain said field or a topic in 5 different difficulty levels. You know, beginning with like explaining it to a child, then explaining it to a high schooler, then explaining it or discussing it with a graduate student, and then discussing it with another expert in the field, and kind of showing the different levels in which that they can kind of explain it. And they had an astrophysicist, and they were talking about gravity. And so, of course, you know, she's talking to the little girl, you know, the child, about gravity, and, you know, just basic concepts, you know, Newton, the apple falling on the head and all that stuff. And but by the time we got to the expert in the field, it was like it was getting into mind melting discussion that we get into, where the dude, they were getting into quantum mechanics and shadow parallel universes and
That
how
pushes the boundaries, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And when they got to that expert level of talk, I was like, whoo, mind meltage, because then they were talking about like parallel, like kind of basically like shadow dimensions, parallel dimensions, like maybe when the Big Bang occurred, if you ascribe to the Big Bang theory or whatever, that our universe that we experience ejected out of one end, and a shadow verse or a parallel verse ejected out of the other end, and that things may be slightly different, and maybe that accounts for the reasons why there's a galaxy here but there's not a galaxy there, but maybe in that flipped inverse there's a galaxy there but not a galaxy. It's just like, whoa, it was just getting into some mind bending concepts, and they were talking about time
I'm
and all
about
that
done
stuff.
already, man. My head's already gone. That's me. I'm done just listening to you explaining that. It's brain cells flying off. That's me
And
spent.
basically, essentially, when it all was said and done with, the experts were like, we really don't know nothing. We really don't know anything.
At least they
I
were
mean,
honest. At least they
yeah,
were honest. Yep. You see, we
yeah,
all
they
end
were,
up at the same conclusion then. Even these people with letters after their names. See?
because he said once you get into the quantum, things get really, really weird. Things get super weird.
Not as weird
But
as Freaky Friday, though. We even take it weirder than quantum mechanics. We do. And
I think Freaky Friday was born out of the quantum. We
it came
oozed
out
out
of
of the
Schrodinger's
quantum
cat.
ether.
Schrodinger's cat brought it home with it one day. It did. It was in the box with Schrodinger's cat. The dead one and the alive one. Old Schrodinger's like, oh, what is this? And it blossomed. It blossomed into what we have here today. It's got its own chat room where people chill out and they get their shout out on a Friday as well. So if you want to get a shout out from yours truly, head on over to the Wookiee Cave, as we call it here. That's tfrlive.com/chat. Totally free. You can hang out in there. It's open 24/7. There's always something playing on the TFR stream. All your information needs definitely taken care of right here. So then, I'm going to head on over there. First up, we've got me and Sophia. People are definitely going to start talking about me and that Silicon Beauty, Scott. I'm telling you. Next, we have got Bam. Then we have Paradoxical Anomaly, Silimo, Cold Brews, David R.B., Armand, my good man, how you doing? We've got Buzzacino kicking about in there, Lurens, Non-Profit Freedom. What's freedom? Just another word for nothing left to lose. Boom, boom.
Oh,
Poly Nation. We have got Tessa, Brett Phillips, CJ. Good big shout out to you, CJ. Good to see you, brother. We've got the Epic Journeyman, and he is going to be on KBS this coming week to talk about time, Mandela, all the glitches in the Matrix. Be good if you can make that one, Scotty. That'd be a good one. I think you would enjoy, for sure. Oh, we've got a super chat.
Is Dr. Fauci Mother Teresa's son?
Oh.
Big up the woo.
Who honestly knows? Who honestly knows? We would need to go to Ancestry or 23andMe. Maybe they'd have the answer to that one. But thank you for that. Thank you very much. We've got All One, Joyful Charter, and Intelligent Chatter. Now, with that said, let me just beam somebody straight into the call here, because he has arrived home from work, Scott. The man with the plan. The man with the plan is going to be joining us any second now.
Hello.
There he is, man. There he is. Andy, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. Just got.
What's that?
I said it just got home.
Oh, right. Sorry, man. I thought Scott thought we'd got Skyped as well there, didn't you? We thought we.
Yeah, I was like, uh-oh.
So, Andy, how's your week been, brother?
Oh, eh.
Has the time passed quickly? Has the time passed slowly? Because time is what is on our mind today. And you came to me a couple of weeks ago now. And I can't remember what inspired it. I think it was a show that was on at the time, not too sure. But you said to me you had some kind of ideas. You'd been thinking about Mandela, timelines, dimensions. And we agreed at the time, you said you really needed a bit of time to come on, explain it, get into it. So me and Scotty are here. We're going to help you get into all of this good stuff. But what really got you thinking about time on a deeper level in the first place, Andy? Have you had your own Mandela effects that have prompted you into questioning how things work with time?
Yeah, quite a lot actually. That I don't know if they're really relevant to other people, but there's just too much. There's too much added data points that correlate with other things in life that make just a little bit too much sense if you start adding them up and then putting them into the context that I've kind of thought about in depth. And I don't know if it's gonna make a whole lot of sense to a lot of people, but it might. And maybe it might help just to get it out and talk to you guys about it and get a little bit of feedback and really go in depth on it, because there's just, like I said, there's just too much stuff that makes just a little bit too much sense for it not to be an actual thing that we've all been experiencing. But maybe no one's really put it in the context that I'm about to put it into. So I don't know.
Well, where's the best place to start then, Andy? I mean, Mandela effects. How would you describe what a Mandela effect is then?
Well, what I think, because a lot of people are viewing it as like a 2D, 3D, 4D thing, and I think it's a little bit more detailed than that when we really start looking at what people are experiencing. Because some people will have like something like, I remember that, and then the next person will say, well, I remember it like this. So and those are just two people that are going back and forth. But then every once in a while you get that third party that's like, well, I remember it both ways, or I remember both these things but not this that you guys are experiencing. But what if you remember this always being an issue? Like, what if you remember all of these different versions of things, but you don't remember why they were ever issue? So it becomes a whole nother, I think, very relevant way to look at something, is that maybe that's not the case. Maybe the whole, quote unquote Mandela effect thing isn't actually what we think it is. What if it's the other part of what I was talking about? That there seems to be a little bit of reality shifting going on that I don't think people realize that they do. And I think a lot of people don't realize they're doing it as often as they might actually be doing it.
Okay, so let's drill down on this aspect of it then. When you say reality shifting, would that be fair to say it equates to going from one timeline to another timeline? Or if people want to describe it as dimensions, or many worlds, is that the same kind of thing you're talking about, dude? Are you talking about physically going
It's
there?
all of it. It's literally all of that. So like You know, when I was talking to you about, the whole ringing of the ears, or you're hearing a frequency in your ear, and it's a very specific thing that I know a lot of people have experienced, and it's when you're just sitting there minding your own business.
I got it doing the kettle the other night, man.
Huh?
I got it putting the kettle on the other night. I've become more conscious of it ever since we kind of spoke about it. I'd always kind of experienced it on and off. That kind of, it's not a noise, an external noise. You can tell it's an internal noise, almost like a pressure, Scotty. You know?
Yeah. So this is very interesting and relevant to me as well because, well, first of all, I mean, I have to say that I have tinnitus, so I always have a kind of a constant, ringing in my ears. However, there are times when just in like one ear, or you get this ramp up of what sounds like a frequency in your ear, and then it'll just like suddenly cut off, almost like somebody was slowly turning the dial and turning it up in your ear, and then all of a sudden cutting the power to it, and it just instantly stops.
I equate it as well to like when your ears pop, when you're maybe going up a hill, up altitude, or coming down the hill, you sometimes get that pressure, or when you're in a plane, you get your ears popping, going up and down. It's similar for me to that,
Definitely not what this is. That's definitely, it's a very specific type of tone and type of experience that you hear, and depending on how you're experiencing it or how you're remembering it. Like personally, when I hear it, it's not coming from something I'm hearing. It's something that like is literally coming from the center of my skull, and it's a very specific, and it's different tones sometimes. Sometimes it's really high pitched, but it never just stops. It just fades out, almost like, and this is the thing, is it's almost like you're mentally shifting from one dimension to the other. Nothing looks actually different, but you're about to experience something, or something has changed in your life that you don't know about yet. And you are now on this different plane of existence, and you've heard this kind of noise out of nowhere, and you're like, once you start really paying attention to it, you'll start seeing things that you didn't think were going to happen change. Personally, and I'm not even joking about this, this is 100% factual. The day that I found out that I was getting divorced, 2 days before that, I had heard this noise. I meant like I was and I've always been aware of it. And I instantaneously went on red alert. What's going to go on? And it's just like all these problems started happening. All this dramatic things around me are going on. I'm getting all these messed up messages from my now ex. And it's like, wait a minute. This is definitely not the reality I wanted to be in. Like, why? Like, I meant, like, lately, up until then, anytime that happened, something good was happening, or something positive in my life was happening. But they were always really high tones for me when I was going from, one level to the next for something better. This was this very specific, very low tone that I heard. I was like, whoa, that's the new one. I don't know what's going to happen. And then that happened. So, I mean, like, I don't know, maybe there's nothing to it. Maybe we all experience it. But like, I've been looking and looking and looking. I've seen nothing on YouTube, on Google, like anywhere I've looked that explains what that noise is. Because everyone will, equate it to being tinnitus, which, Scott, you said you have tinnitus. I have it too, but it's totally not the same thing.
Exactly. No, you're right. There's a total different aspect to it than just your tinnitus. Because, like I said, I'll occasionally get the same stuff where you get this weird tone, this weird, sound, and it's completely separate than the tinnitus thing. And then yeah, it's very interesting you bring this up, Andy, because I've often kind of thought about and wondered about the same thing. It's like, what am I hearing? What is this different noise? What is this different thing that I'm hearing in my, is it a frequency that I'm somehow able to pick up, or is what's going on? And yeah, it's something completely different than the tinnitus. And you got to wonder, like, are you picking up some kind of a, like you said, is it some kind of a shift? I don't know. It's very bizarre. It is very bizarre. But I'm totally on track with you with this stuff, because I've often wondered the same thing.
Literally is almost like you're hearing your pineal gland tuning into a different frequency. And I don't, that's what I view it as, okay, is because it's literally coming from the center of, your being. You're not hearing it. You're hearing it, like, but it's not like you're hearing it externally. You're hearing it internally. And I mean, so, like, for instance, I don't know how many people are listening right now, but I'm 100% sure that if you've ever had a spinal tap, which I've had too, so now I know the noise that I can hear inside of my spine, because there's an abstract of fluid that is not there now. And if I lay a certain way, I can hear the fluid in my spinal cord move. Now, that's a noise that you can hear, just like you can hear yourself swallow louder than you can hear someone else normally if you're in a room that's quiet. It's the same type of internal noises, the noise that's coming from your body. And I mean, like, for instance, like this, there's been studies where they put people in those 100% noise-proof rooms. And if you stay in there long enough, your own heartbeat will drive you insane. So so, I mean, with that being said, you got that part of, this isn't that. This is something you're hearing over every other thing in the world. You'll be driving and it'll happen. You'll just be on your computer looking up car parts or, like something.
You mentioned
like
the
that.
pineal gland, Andy, and there's a thing here. I mean, it just made me think of something. It says opening the third eye, powerful ancient practices for opening the pineal gland and expanding consciousness. Now, on my journeys, on my travels, and Scott, I'm sure you'd agree, Andy as well, we've always heard how chanting, is one way of creating that vibration that shamans and elders and people will say will activate the third eye. So if a vibration can activate the third eye, then I back engineer it. If the third eye becomes activated, does that mean at times it could give off a frequency? Well, maybe it could. So maybe that is exactly what you're hearing,
Yeah, man. I think it's definitely within the realm of possibility. And maybe this is, what if this is also like an early warning system as well? Like,
that's what I'm.
Yeah, like Kev, you talk about your spidey sense and all of that. Maybe this is some kind of an early warning system that kind of is telling you, hey, something is about to happen. Something is about, there's something about to occur, and it's kind of setting off this spidey sense feeling, and maybe that takes form in this kind of tone or this noise that kind of you hear emanating from the center of your skull, or something like that. That could be a possibility as well. Maybe it's kind of this old kind of intuition ability that maybe we once had, to where we knew that maybe something was coming in the near future and that we needed to prepare. And I don't know, man. It's fascinating stuff, no doubt.
I mean, like I've also been thinking about this whole thing about like, I really hope I don't lose you guys on this, because this is something that I was, literally thinking about today. I was like, I spend a lot of time by myself in my office when I'm programming stuff. And most of the time I'm listening to music, but most of the time I'll be listening to like binaural beats or something like that. It's just enough noise to keep the part of my mind that won't shut the hell up quiet long enough to do what I need to do and concentrate. But in particular today, I wasn't really listening to anything, and I just started thinking about stuff while I was working, and I literally had to start writing all this stuff down, and then I immediately didn't save it on my computer. So
hold that thought, dude. We're gonna be right back. One segment down, 5 to go. Don't go anywhere on Freaky Friday. We're gonna be right back. There we go. Yeah, this is good stuff, Andy. I knew it would be. I don't want to get too deep into stuff we'll need to repeat on the other side, so we'll totally shift gears now. We'll talk about something totally unrelated to time, so we can pick it up on the other side exactly where we left off. And
good idea.
we were watching. what were we watching before we came on, Scott? A bit of Dr. Disrespect. Is that who we had on there?
Yes, we're watching the doc play Warzone.
Is he getting as good as you? Is he almost as good as you now, Scott?
Oh no! Come on, I can't.
You can't even joke about that. No, you can't even joke about the 2 times.
No, you can't joke about that.
Anne doesn't get why I watch him. Anne doesn't get why I like Dr. Disrespect. She's like,
it's the persona.
It's the character. Dude, he is awesome, man.
Yeah, he literally I came to the conclusion he's a wrestling heel that has a gaming channel.
Yep,
that's what he is. He's essentially a wrestling character that plays games
and put himself into esports. Yep.
Yeah, that's what's so great about it. I love Dr. Disrespect. Yes, he was playing Warzone. They just come out with an update. They nerfed the Bruin. If you guys play that out there, the Bruin was a little overpowered in Warzone, so they had to nerf the gun.
And for anyone out there, if you're wanting to check out something pretty dang cool, go and check out the new Call of Duty trailer.
Ooh.
It's got a clip of a very interesting person that myself and Scott have played on the Kev Baker show before, an ex-KGB cat, and hiding things in plain sight, revealing a revelation of the method, or just a really clever way to show you what's going on in the world right now. There's so many different ways to look at this, Scott. It's worth watching.
Yeah, and the thing is that the Call of Duty Black Ops series has always had this kind of weird. I mean, our friend Popeye has done shows where he's broken down the kind of subliminal symbolic stuff in the Black Ops series, and this latest trailer for the new Black Ops, it features an interview that G. Edward Griffin did with Yuri Bezmenov back in '84, and Yuri Bezmenov was a KGB defector who came to the United States and
traitor.
Come on, Kremlin Kev. And he kind of exposed what the Soviets' plan was to infiltrate the West and demoralize us and infiltrate the education system and blah, 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 and all that. And
bit of Novichok to sort that one out, the centre. Anyway, we're going to get ready to go back to... It's a joke. I'm never going to let that go, man. I like the Kremlin, Kev. I think it's cool. Especially nowadays, it's hip, man. I was Kremlin Kev before Russia became a talking point. A bit like my logo, Getting ready here. We're watching the clock, and then we're going to come back to Andy. I wish you'd managed to save what it was you'd written down, Andy. I really, really do. Because I That might have contained a whole load of revelations. Here we go. Second segment on today's Freaky Friday. Do I even really need to play the Andy Wookie when we've got Andy with us? I think on the next break we'll get a live Chewbacca from Andy when we come back. And I've got Scotty Lopez here as well. And Spooky Andy, he is the main man tonight because he came to me a couple of weeks ago talking about time. He mentioned this thing about this ringing in your ears. Now, the guys were discussing it on the other side. There's a big difference between what they're discussing here and something called tinnitus. It got us talking about the pineal gland. Are we swapping dimensions, timelines, realities, whatever word you want to put on it? And then we got into what Andy was doing and what he sometimes does at work. And he was listening to one of these binaural beats. Now, I've never listened to them myself. I've seen them on YouTube. But I get where he's coming from because me personally, I get very little sleep because I can't quieten the chatter and the noise down in my head. It's just constant. It's not schizophrenia or anything like that. Dave, he's a bit schizophrenic. But it's just, it's constantly on the go. Thinking of this, then right on to another thing. And I don't know, but I get why Andy was listening to that. But when he was listening to it, as we learned before the break, something kind of cool started happening. And Andy, I'm going to come back to you because almost some inspiration, some creative kind of force, and you started writing down what it was that was coming through you, right? But you didn't save it. Do you remember roughly what it was about?
Yeah, totally. There's I mean, like, I honestly, I feel like all this stuff is like connected. What I'm about to say, I just, it's like a, how do you call it, a working theory, if you will. And that is that. So let me start this off by saying we as people, human beings, did not or have not been around to see the beginning. We won't be around to see the end. And we don't understand what time actually is because it's something we made to measure. Now, when it comes to time, you also have to, add, speed and travel of speed and the whole theory of light speed and how there's apparently a cosmic speed limit, apparently. That doesn't mean there isn't a workaround to it, and that doesn't mean that we're not going light speed. That doesn't mean we know all this stuff. And that's that I honestly feel like at some points in time when we feel like we're either going too slow or too fast, or time has sped up or time has slowed down, that's something that we all of us, like in the whole entire world, human race, as people, we experience it all. Honestly, I feel like we might be experiencing it all at the same time. So if we go through a part in space and our whole galaxy has accelerated to, near the speed of, light, because we don't know exactly how fast we actually are going. All the cosmology stuff is all theory. We don't actually know. There's no 100% proof. You follow me? So, like, although we can take measurements, it's all speculation. Literally. No one knows everything.
Very interesting and very synchronistic, because I was just talking to Kev about something I was watching the other day where this astrophysicist was talking to another expert about gravity, and they were pretty much discussing the same thing. Like, we really don't know.
Saying it's theory. Yeah. it's like it's speculation. It's not fact. A fact is when you know you can hold something in your hand and you can see it. But still also does not make it real, because all atoms are composed up of 99.9% nothing. So it's like, if that's the case, then it's like, how much of reality is actually real? The matter that you can see and touch and feel, if you will, your old Matrix sounding shenanigans. But at the same time, it's like, we're experiencing things the way we're experiencing them because we're on a certain vibration that keeps things together. And my harmonic vibration is going to be different than someone else's. And that's where I think a lot of this stuff with that, pitch shift, the tone inside your head, is something that's very relevant. It's something real that, we all experience it, whether or not we want to admit it or not. It's something that we are all going through all the time. It just depends on whether or not you're paying attention or not when it happens. So the whole thing with the whole the cosmic speed limit, what I'm talking about is just that maybe at some points in time when we're hearing that noise, when we're experiencing things that we're not used to, or a full reality shift, maybe our dimension is crossing dimensions with another dimension that's totally polar opposite of ours. But because all dimensions are layered on top of one another, it doesn't mean that there's not some type of cyclical event that happens every once in a while where we pass through the ecliptic of another galaxy that's totally polar opposite of ours, and that's when we experience hardship, or that's maybe when we experience full on change.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, once again, relevant to what I was just talking about earlier before you came on, this discussion that these experts were having. One of the theories, and, like you said, it's all just, theories and stuff like that. But, if you ascribe to the Big Bang Theory, right, this guy was talking about how, like, our universe that we perceive, like our reality, I guess, that we exist in right now, was ejected out of one end of the Big Bang, and then there's like a shadowverse, basically, or a kind of like an opposite, a polar opposite kind of universe that was ejected out of the other end of the Big Bang, right? And you discuss kind of this maybe phasing of the two, or moving in and out of maybe like I guess we could call it, if you want to boil it down to something, like Bizarro World, right? If you want to look at like, Superman and the Justice League and all that, there was Bizarro World where everything was completely opposite, right? Superman and all the superheroes were bad guys, and all of that. What if there is this parallel kind of dimension where things are the opposite of what they are? So if things are going good in your life in this this timeline, or this dimension, maybe you're having an extremely rough time and things aren't going so well for you in the other dimension. And you're right. I mean, what if there is this phenomenon where people kind of phase in and out of the two, or, like I said, things could be going really, really good, and then all of a sudden you kind of phase into that other one and things aren't going so well, and then maybe you end up phasing back and things start looking up again, and everything starts kind of going well again. I mean, who knows? But I mean, I definitely think that that's the thing. And I think this also ties into like raising and lowering your vibration, right?
Yep.
So yeah, so when you like raise your vibration, you're moving up kind of in these dimensions where things are more positive, But if you lower your vibration, you're moving into these dimensions where things might not be, these kind of timelines or reality splits where things might not be going so well, and yeah, so like I'm totally on board with this. I'm liking it. I think there's something to it, Andy. I really do.
Absolutely. I mean, like, I honestly feel like, when, like, in my head, I can see like a working model of how something like this could happen. And in my head, it makes sense to me if I like start like laying it out and playing it out, in my head. But in order for it to make sense to people that aren't in my head, I almost have to paint the picture of, sorry, it's hard to put what I'm trying to say into comprehensible
This is
words.
what I'm talking about, dude. This is what I'm talking about. This is the upper limits of where our processing power can get to. It's almost like there's something written into the code where we can't quite get to the real working parts of everything. Time being one of them.
Yeah. So let's back this up. I'm sure that we've all seen a not a diorama or whatever of the solar system or whatever when we were in grade school. Now, have you ever looked at something and it looks blurry? Like it looks like it's shifted. If you cross your eyes, you get two. If you look at something too close, you can see like two or three of them. Something like that. Now, let's just keep that in mind, okay? Now, are you guys familiar with the R8 construction of what theoretical physics is calling multi-dimensional parallel realities that sit on top of one another? So like infinitely.
It's a geometric shape thing.
Yeah. So like they compare it to when you stack a bunch of oranges. There's only one way to stack oranges, and that's to stack them on top of one another where they sit inside of one another, right? Like to a point where they're holding one another, as long as they got a base around them. But let's just say you don't have that base around, right? You don't have something that's actually restricting the structure itself that's being built. What if it's infinite and there's literally no end or no beginning, and it's always been there and it always will be there? There's you and me, all of us, we've always been here. I'm not talking about when you were born. I'm saying like the raw materials that you're made out of have always been here. Yes. Always, forever.
It goes back to we are made of stardust, right? I mean the elements that we are composed of have always existed in the universe.
Yeah, and see, so that's just the one part of it, right? Well, the other part of it is like I don't believe in the Big Bang. I don't. I don't. I believe that there's something, but to boil it down to some idiosyncrasy that is just easy to say so that it's easy for us to comprehend by calling it that is a massive it's a massive mistake on our part as competent human beings, enough to where if we're trying to talk about this theoretically, okay, and we're trying to like game it out theoretically, let's just say just take the Big Bang thing out of perspective, take it out of your vocabulary. What else could there have been? because they're saying, these guys are saying that, well, let's just say that everything came from one point. Well, how do we know that? We don't know that. We were never there. They say that all the galaxies and everything are always moving faster and faster and faster away. But what's to say that they weren't, on the other side of something, and as they passed through our galaxy or another galaxy whipped around another one, it didn't excel it and make it go faster. So we don't actually know. It's all in theory. That's why the Big Bang is called a theory. So it's like, subscribing to that really limits you. And once you can really like turn it off and say, look, that's also a theory. What else could there be? What if we were brought into existence purely by thought, an idea? What if for some reason our consciousness is what made everything real? And it's one of those, it's the whole thing that has to do with vibration. If you change your vibration, you can make things change in your life. Personally, I thought my life was coming to an end, just not even a month and a half ago or two. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had to tell myself repeatedly that this isn't the end. Everything's fine. This is just a hiccup in life. Let's make it better. And I'm literally proof that you can just make it better if you just focus on what's good in your life and push the negative out of your life. I'm not trying to make this about me. I'm just saying that if you focus on what you want, you will make it a reality. And I mean, that's not to say that you're going to make millions of dollars a reality, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about bringing opportunity into your life is all based on how you think. And if you're able to change your focused intent and change your harmonic vibrations within yourself, you can change these things and have little to zero effect on actual reality around you. But let's just say, what if people can do that? What if there's been beings around since however long, and they've always been doing it, and we're just now experiencing it and waking up to the fact that we can do that, So it's like, I don't know, this gets really deep, really quick. And I mean, the whole thing with, experiencing the weird pitch shift, in your skull that you feel, it has to have something to do with intent in your life, whether or not you knew you wanted to do something. It's almost like subconscious that you're tapping into. It's kind of mind-numbingly crazy if you really start letting yourself think about it. You'll put yourself way in the weeds really quick if you don't, stay on track. So,
no, you're right. And whenever I was talking about the Big Bang, I was just talking about it in the context of what these experts were talking about. But and I don't really particularly ascribe to the Big Bang theory myself either. I think maybe there was a little more to it than just everything exploding out of a single point. But I mean, I guess that's the working theory, that the only thing that they can really reference to describe, try to base anything on. But no, you're correct, right? I mean, you can, I believe you can will things into existence, right? It's all about intent and the way that you kind of you view things. Like if you view life in a negative way, then negative things are going to happen in your life, right? Mm-hmm. You've willed that into existence. So if you sit around and you you mope and you know, just say, oh, my life is so terrible, everything's going wrong, and you know, and you just continually focus on that, well, things are going to keep going wrong and things are going to keep getting worse and all of that. But if you have a positive attitude and you go, okay, you know, things are going to get better, this isn't the end of the world, you know, those opportunities are going to arise that end up making your life better. And maybe these things are going to come along, these opportunities or these moments that, you know, you can go, oh wow, you know, maybe a job opportunity, or you know, just random things that could happen that end up bettering your life, you know, if you focus on that. You know, like you said, it's not like you're going to sit there and think about, oh, a stack of money is going to appear on my desk and it pops up. No, that's not how it works. It's just, it's a matter of intent and your outlook on everything. And like you said, it's like raising your vibration. Do you want to choose to be in this lower vibration state? And if you choose to be in a lower vibration state, well, then that's where you're going to remain. You know, you're going to be in this lower vibration reality. But if you choose to be, if you want to raise your vibration and you have this positive outlook on everything and sort of, you know, try to take control and better your life, well, then those, you're going to end up kind of leveling up and moving up to that higher vibrational state, and more positive things are going to happen. I'm a total believer in that. You know, I think a good example of it was my recent amputation I had last year on my leg. Okay, so I'm a double amputee. I've had both of my legs amputated below the knees, you know, and the first amputation that happened way back in like 2012, 2011, I can say that probably I was not in a very positive state of mind when it happened. Let's just put it that way. And it took quite a long time for that to heal afterwards. There was a lot of pain and all of that. And last year, when they had to take my other leg, I went into it with a very positive outlook, very positive thinking. And Kev can attest to this. I was joking around about it.
Yeah. Me and Joe and Popeye wouldn't have had it any other way, to be honest with you.
I went into it with an extremely positive outlook. I mean, first of all, I was ready for it to happen anyways. I was in so much pain that, you know, but like I just went into this mindset of like thinking, I'm going to heal extremely quickly from this, extremely quickly. And I kept focusing on that. Like I was essentially doing that thing where you use your mind to like heal yourself, you know, kind of outlook, or, you know, that I was going in with that mindset of like willing my healing to occur. And literally, like I healed so fast from that. You know, an amputation, and I was like up and about and ready to rock and roll. I think it was like the next week or two, I was back on air, right? And then within a month and a half, my scar had, you know, the wound had healed and everything like that. And I mean, the healing just went so fast. I mean, it was a complete night and day difference. Compared to the other one, you know, and I think a lot of that had to do with my mindset. A lot of that had to do with me focusing on healing and keeping a positive attitude. And when I did that, it had that intent caused an actual physical effect that manifested in reality. So,
Scotty,
yeah.
You shocked me when you'd come back to me and you said you kind of messaged me for a Freaky Friday, if I remember rightly, or it was a weekend stream. I was thinking that can't be Scott coming back already, you know? but it was. And yeah, I can attest to what he was saying. He went into that totally, upbeat, confident, and like you said, you knew yourself it was time to get it done. And it just shows you, folks, it does. And I suppose this kind of ties in with the placebo effect as well. The frame of mind that you're in, even that belief, even if it's false, the belief that you're on something, in a placebo's case, some kind of tablet, some kind of medication, that in itself is enough to change your reality.
Yeah.
Change
Yeah,
physical reality,
That's forcing somebody to think in a positive manner, right? Because if they think it was having a positive effect on them, then they're actually thinking in a positive state. They're forced. They're kind of forced into a positive mindset, and I think that's where you see a lot of the effects of placebo come in. I honestly think that's where a lot of that.
We're on the break, folks. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. There we go, big man. I've seen it coming up there. I thought it's going to hit us. The breaks are coming. I want to give a big shout out to my friend Nancy over there, sending you much love and positive vibes all the way over to Canada. And me and Nancy talk about these topics a lot off air. I remember having long conversations about, and we'll touch on this when we come back on the other side, because it's a good topic. How many people does it take to really make a big change with focused intention,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get these kind of global get-togethers, and they call it meditation, call it focused attention. I don't even know the language you might use for it. But, we talk about the 100 monkeys, instantly, a kind of a threshold, and then everyone gets it, I wonder how many you would need to really just flip reality into that positive kind of mindset. Probably not as many as we think,
I mean, wasn't that the whole point of the quote unquote global awakening?
Yeah.
And it was to try to get as many people to kind of wake up to everything, and then
do
it
we
would
know
kind of
what we need? Do we know what we need to focus on yet? That's the thing.
That's
Yeah. If we
that's
ask the right questions, are we looking at it the right way?
Yeah.
Cause and effect as well, Scotty. There's going to be unforeseen quantum repercussions when you start doing things, I would imagine.
And I mean, the global elite know this. That's why they like to start mass movements, because you get everybody focused on one thing. They know that can have an actual physical effect that manifests in reality.
As do their symbols. Yes, and that's why you see them being attached to their movements. And I was showing Scott last night. Get a load of this, folks. He couldn't make this stuff up, right? I mean, we would get laughed at, typically, out there in the real world if you mention that thing called the Illuminati. Yeah? People laugh at you, right? But yet, Scotty, the Hollywood standard kind of After Effects plugins, tell the world, tell our audience here. I said the world, 115 doesn't really constitute the world, but tell them all the specific plugin that it offers you the choice of in there, Scott.
Oh yes, there's a very nice little plugin, a very nice little particle effect in there called blah blah, the Illuminati plugin.
Yeah, a big golden triangle with the eye flying right at you, isn't it? Not quite the eye, but it's a glow where the eye should be. Yeah, and we're conspiracy theorists for talking about the Illuminati, but like I say, and that is like one of the Hollywood standard plugins, because it's the same company that does the sabers and Star Wars and things. So yeah, they're allowed to put it in their movie as effects, Scott. But we talk about it. Oh, those people are crackpots. You see how that works? I see how it works. I've got their card marked.
Although I do say you do need to utilize that plugin just to trigger somebody.
Yeah, I'm going to Scott. I've tried it with my logo in it. Oh, dearie me, it's like trigger happy, man. People are going to freak out. because you know how my logo is very, very dodgy. Very dodgy. We're going to come back to the mothership in just a moment. And here we go. Andy, are you going to do as a Wookiee? Andy, do as a Wookiee.
Sure.
3, 2, 1. Now that there is what I call a Wookiee, bringing us back from the break. Welcome back, everyone.
That's the freestyle look.
Telling you, dude, that was awesome. We've got the three amigos here. We've got Scotty Lopez, we've got Spooky Andy, and me. Well, it could be the Four Horsemen, because I'm both Kev and Dave Baker. I don't know who I am tonight. I haven't decided yet. Don't judge me. It's a very, it's a time of diversity.
We haven't decided which parallel reality we shifted into yet.
Yeah, no matter what reality I go on to, it'll never be ma'am. I can assure you of that much. It'll never be that. But,
are you dimensionally fluid?
Oh,
Is that what that
I like
is?
that, Scott. Yeah,
That's
I'm
exactly what-
interdimensionality cis. That's what I am. I'm happy. I'm happy. But listen, before the break, we got into a really cool topic, and it was focused intention, the power of our minds. I have to go back to what Dr. Richard Allen Miller kept on saying to me, and he kept on saying it and kept on saying it, and he says it on other shows as well, and he's really deliberate about how he says it. And I think I know why he says it, because he says men need to be very responsible for the thoughts they have. It sounds pretty vague, pretty kind of, what's that all about? But when you start to think of intention, and you start to open your mind to our thoughts literally affecting reality around us, around other people, then sure thing, you definitely have to think of your thoughts. Think of your thoughts like symbols. Some symbols hold some magical powers, some more magical than others, some less magical. And I think our thoughts are quite along the same lines. We can send that out there, and there is energy attached to them. And again, I think that's why he really stresses we need to be careful for what we think. And then, Scott, Andy, let's get back to en masse then. Because we're living in a hectic world. It gets more and more hectic every year that goes by. Information coming at us here, there, everywhere, upside, downside, left, right. And it's hard to really take the time and be deliberately positive in a world where everything's steered to the negative. The worry over money, the worry over health, moving from one thing to the other, big stories in the world coming at you all the time. And Scott, I see you nodding away there. You know, it might sound to some people no-brainer, but this is why, you know, they want to keep you in that negative vibe. They don't want you having time to turn it round, you know?
That's what I was, that's basically what I was saying. The global controllers, whatever name you want to, whatever name you want to put on them, the Illuminati, the Cabal, the elite, whatever, the New World Order.
Chicken wearing Cabal, chicken foot wearing Cabal. All right, that'll do it.
They know this. I mean, this is part of that occulted knowledge, right? They know that if they can keep the masses in a perpetual state of fear and low vibration, then they can control them, right? And they know that if everybody starts to raise their vibration and think in a positive way, then humanity will level up. So they have to keep everybody in that mindset, and it, most people are going about their day, like you said, they're worried about so much stuff, financial, just everything is kind of piled up on somebody to keep them in this lower vibration state. And so, yeah,
just following on from that though, Scotty, us ourselves, our little biological vehicle that we've got here for experience in this realm, You know, Andy mentioned earlier on, rightly, that, you know, every atom, it's like 99% fresh air, it's all empty space. And then you come to our flesh suit, and we're pretty much predominantly made up of water. Now, water and intention and thoughts, we can definitely look at that because there's been experiments done on that, right? And Dr. Inamoto, I think is the guy's name, and he done the experiments where he basically took water, he put intentions, say love, hate, things like that, on the test tube, and then he flash froze them. And what he done then was put them under a microscope, and it was amazing, right? Because anything that was positive, anything that was good, it was like snowflakes. It was like gorgeous. It was symmetrical. It was all that beautiful kaleidoscope kind of way. As opposed to the other ones that were all jagged and broken and And if you think about that then, I mean, again, if we're walking about in a negative mindset, we're always looking at the kind of negative in everything, just glass is always half full. That's got to have an effect on you physically if you're made up with water, right? It's got to affect your cells. It's got to affect your very being.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because why do you think there's this push now to push a nihilistic postmodern view of the world and teach that to everybody and kind of ingrain that into everyone's mind, especially like this generation. It's almost like they want everybody to have a negative view of everything and not see the good in anything, right? Why do you think you see so much hate and division going on right now where, you know, nothing was ever good, everything's always been bad, and it's always gonna be bad, and blah 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 blah. You know, it has that effect on people. And like you said, Kev, I mean, we're essentially bags of water. I mean, we're mostly composed
pretty cool bags of water. I'll be, you know.
Yeah, we're very, very interesting bags of water. Let's just say, but you know, if you're putting that intention out, and you know, as you've seen with the water experiments right here with Imamoto,
you know, heavy metal music doesn't make it look so good.
Well,
it's okay. It's okay. You don't listen to it 24/7, brother. You'll be fine. You'll put yourself back in shape.
Hey, it depends on what band if he was playing a crappy band.
Explains it. That explains it, dude. Yeah.
But no, I mean, so you know, if we're mostly comprised of water, you see the experiment results right there. You know, what effect is that having on our bodies? You know, what effect is that? You know, that goes back to the whole healing aspect of everything, right? If you think with positive intentions of healing yourself, then you're essentially changing the composition of the water in your body to become more of like
quantum healing is a thing, dude. It's a thing. I had it explained to me one time. Think of how cool this is, right? Think of this, Scott, real quick. Think of me, for example, okay? You've got me. I found out when I was 40 that my lungs were goosed, kind of thing. So if I think back to a time when I was really good, like fighting fit, pretty, you know, no problems health-wise, and then you think of that time, whatever that time was, whatever age you were then, and then this quantum healing, you would have somebody almost winding back, almost winding the clock back on a quantum level in amongst your cells and amongst it, and almost resetting it and tricking it back to that previous state. Like a restore state, Scott. We often compare the body to computers, right? And if you install something on your computer, something goes wrong, lucky you've got that restore option. So you set it back to a week ago. Quantum healing, similar kind of thing, you know?
Let me throw this at you guys, which is a little mind-blowing. So, given what we've been talking about, do you think that there is something to holy water and say healing springs or like the fountain of youth kind of situation. Because in the case of holy water, you have a priest or somebody bless the water, right? They put their intention on that water. They put sort of a holy healing aspect or intent on that water. So
it's meant to be holy and healing.
It's meant to be holy and healing, right? And that's really, yes, it depends on the priest. But in general, if they're going in with the actual intention of blessing and putting that good intent on the water, I would say that that's no different than the experiment that Imamoto did, right? Where he put good thoughts and good intentions on the water, and it actually changed the physical properties of it when he froze it. Same with like these healing springs or something. What if somebody goes to like a well or something, and they put like good intentions of like healing properties or something on it? Then does that change the properties of the water that comes out? I mean, I don't know. It's just.
What do you make of all this, Andy? What do you make of all this stuff, man?
Which part?
All of it, any of it.
I'm sorry. As a whole?
Whatever's on your mind, man.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude. I was a little distracted here for a second. It's like when the teacher asks the answer to the question she was talking about, and you're like, huh?
No good.
What about the healing aspect? Like putting your intent on water, like holy water and stuff like that. You think there's something?
Couldn't any water be holy if you believe it is?
Yeah,
I think so. It depends on the water too. I mean, the water it's in a stagnated pond can't be blessed. There's no way. That's disgusting. But
yeah, I'm not gonna go to a pond with like a toxic algae bloom in it and drink anything from it.
I think the water is the least of your problems if you're anywhere near a swamp with a priest. I think probably the water is going to be the least of your worries at that point, guys. Honest, just saying.
It also depends on your age too, I guess, but we won't get into that either.
No.
Yeah, there's definitely something to it, because that whole experience or experiment that why can't I remember his name? Yanamoto or whatever his name was did. Yeah. Like really did prove a lot. And I meant like, the power of intent is something that I don't think a lot of people do understand at all. So, there's something to be said about it that definitely needs more credibility and research and like actual, attention. So,
yeah. Aaron and Melissa Dykes did the Imamoto experiment, or a version of it with rice and water, I believe. And the jars that they put the rice in that where they said negative things or put negative intent on it, it started molding and rotting in a really nasty way. And like all of these jars were identical, and then it's like the jar that they put the good intent on and said positive things, and it almost preserved it. It didn't rot really very much at all. It was very interesting.
Yeah, it's the same as there's Russian experiments where they've got a pyramid built. It's not the same as the pyramids we think of. It's more of a tall structure with a smaller kind of base that's more conical, more pointed. But they've done experiments in there. This is going back a long time now, back to when David Wilcock was, before he was Blue Chickens. And he was the one that was talking about Dr. Inamoto. And he also showed you experiments from this Russian thing. And I've checked out myself. It's absolutely genuine. But they showed you how they were growing tomatoes outside the pyramid and tomatoes inside the pyramid. And the yield, the size, the health, everything was vastly greater inside the pyramid than it was outside. So it makes you wonder. We were talking about the Illuminati and having a laugh with it. Me and Scott always go blah, 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 right? But we're talking about energy, we're talking about quantum stuff here, we're talking about changing reality round about us. And let's take that one experiment, albeit one experiment, that we can see that there's a measurable advantage to being underneath or inside a pyramid. So is that the ultimate, like, kind of to steer us away from pyramids? They have that pyramid as their structure, their symbol. And of course it's so demonized because we look at the pyramid and we look at the eye and we go, oh, ooga booga, that's the Illuminati, stay away from that. That's evil stuff. In reality, you know, the pyramid, it focuses some of that field, shall we call it, around us.
Using it as stealth, you know? Because, like, if you look at a stealth plane, there's a lot of flat surfaces to disrupt, you know, your radar. You know all about that stuff, right, Kev?
Yeah, I'd have to kill you all if I told you so.
Yes. So, like, let's just say maybe the telekinetic currents that are on the Earth are very much disrupted by
exactly
flat surfaces that are, you know, sealed, much like a stealth airplane. So they're able to fly under the radar due to their geodesic dome, or, you know, structures that have flat surfaces that are, you know, I guess
there was a thing back in the day as well, for keeping razors sharp.
Yeah.
It's like always pyramid shaped as well. I'll try to see if I can find a picture of it. Oh, pyramid razor sharp. Yeah, there it is there. There's one of them anyway. But it's the same. Like, back in the day, you'd have little things like pyramids that you'd put over the razor blade, and they say that would keep it sharp. How to sharpen a straight razor blade? Look, you put a pyramid over it. Why? What does that even do? you know, what is that even about?
Huh.
Yep. It's a thing. It's a thing, Andy. I remember razor blade sharp. See if that comes up with. Yeah, there's the thing there. There's the figure of it. Cora. We'll go and have a look. We'll see what this says. A classic straight razor has sharpening geometry built into it. The spine and cutting edge, when flat on a hone, are at what the razor maker believes is the best angle set for the bevel of the razor. So smooth, light strokes across a succession of a finer and finer abrasive hones with the result. Now, that's nothing about the pyramid. But yeah, what it does, I do not know. There's something there called a pyramid, the original pyramid energy kit. The Museum of Witchcraft and Magic.
Look up the ad for that and see if it does it come with a complimentary tinfoil hat?
Probably, yeah. But no, you can actually see the things that people used to buy years ago, and they would put their razor blade under it, and it would like keep it going for longer. I know it sounds bizarre to people nowadays with throwaway razors and things like that, but it was a thing, and what it did, how it did it, I do not know.
That's very interesting. Have it. I wonder if people should start just building their houses as pyramids. See what kind of effect that would have. I know we talk about I can't think of the name right now. But there's like a compound of different elements, and people shape it into a pyramid, and then they give it to somebody, and it's supposed to help remove energies and stuff from their house. If any of you guys in the chat know the name of the whatever that is, let me know. But there's definitely something to like the shape of a pyramid,
Yeah,
no doubt.
It's like Andy says, if you've got it flat, you can break up maybe some of the kind of you can disrupt the energy, the fields, and in other ways you can almost focus it. You know.
What is the basic shape of a teepee, Kev, that the Native Americans
Yes,
make?
very much comes up to a point.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely conical.
I definitely think there's something to that shape, man.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there, dude. I'm with you there.
Have you guys ever done?
Orgone, people in the chat, thank you. Orgone, people will put Orgone, which is like I think it's a different mix of elements, and they shape it in a pyramid, and then you're supposed to put it in your room or wherever, and it's supposed to like align energies and things like that. There's something to it.
Andy, you know, something way back in the day on different continents all around the world, something about pyramids fascinated those people as well, right?
I think that they actually knew something, and I'm not talking about the Egyptians because I know those people didn't build those. I'm just going to go ahead and say it because I have a pretty strong opinion about those people. Not those people, but I'm saying the people that decided that they were going to tell everyone they built those. They're just lying to themselves. Just because it's on your land doesn't mean you built it. You know, like where I live right now, I didn't invent the dirt underneath my feet. You know, so but I think that they inherited something they didn't understand, and I think those are a lot older than the 10,000 years that they say they are. I think they're a lot older than people can even really give them credit for. And honestly, I think that those are used to transmit energy or to receive signal from maybe another dimension. There's a lot to be said about the pyramid shape in general. I meant like those aren't really the way that they were when they were built initially, obviously, like they're eroded, but there's a lot of stuff there that no one really knows. And, you know, they still try to tell us that they were built by slaves, which I still don't believe. And they're trying to tell us that, you know, it took X amount of time to build the pyramids, and when you add it up, it's just not true, you know? So, I mean,
there's a whole heap of stuff here about pyramid electricity generators. Fascinating. Just looking at this here, you've got like the top of the pyramid, you got a bolt and you got a pin hanging down. It's made of gypsum, salt, and sand. That's the kind of mixture it's in. Then below that, you've got granite. Granite stones in aluminum foil, and then steel or an aluminum plate at the bottom. That gives you your positive, negative. You wrap it in aluminum foil. It is crazy stuff, but plenty of people talking about it.
Yeah, and I dropped a link there in Skype about the Orgone pyramids. Yeah, 8 benefits of Orgone pyramids.
So what's special about Orgone then? What's its special? Like, is it full of quartz, or has it got something that some other stone doesn't have?
A lot of the ones I see, they have different quartz crystals and stuff embedded in it. I mean, you can make it, I guess, different ways. I mean, you can see like many different types of Orgone pyramids, but so I'll just kind of read through this. It says, first of all, let's define Orgone. Orgone is another name for the form of energy, also known as chi, prana, ether, or life force. So we're talking about kind of that energy that we've discussed many times, whatever you want to call it, the ether, or the, maybe even whatever Tesla was tapping into, just kind of this universal energy. It says Orgone pyramids, aside from being major eye candy, are highly sought after devices known for their ability to convert negative energy into positive energy and balance spiritual, emotional, and physical body. Think of an Orgone pyramid as a filter for toxic energy in the atmosphere, like positive ions from EMFs. It says as negative energy moves through the device, it's exposed to electromagnetic friction, an environment created by the mixture of metal shavings and crystals in the resin. This force ultimately reorganizes the energy into a more harmonious wavelength as it exits the pyramid.
Hold that thought. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere, folks. We are halfway through Freaky Friday. We've still got an hour and a half to go right here on tfrlive.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And then we'll let you know what comes up after Freaky Friday as well. We'll be right back. There we go. Now, Polly in the chat room, I've seen him talking about Orgone before, I think, in Discord, but I think he was saying you need to be careful when you're making these because you can actually make them wrong as well.
I'm sure maybe some of it has to do with the intent while you're making it, and maybe you need to make sure you get your compound layers correct as well. I don't know.
Does your head explode? Like,
I'd say probably it just keeps the energy negative as opposed to having any positive effect, I would imagine.
You put it in your car, you just keep getting pulled over.
Probably. Yeah. It definitely attracts the bad juju to you.
This damn pyramid.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't want to make like a reverse Orgone pyramid that just focuses negative energy radiating out of the top.
I know a couple people that deserve one. Hide it in their desk. Just
That's hilarious.
So is this a natural stone?
What from what I've gathered, I mean you're making it out of like these different natural elements, and you're supposed to layer them.
It's acrylic that they layer the stuff inside of. Kev,
is that?
Yeah,
got you.
It's a resin. It's a resin. It's embedded in like in a resin.
Got you.
But you're forcing it into that shape. You're forcing it into that pyramidal shape. And from what I'm assuming, I guess like the negative energy comes in through the base, and then it focuses it into a more higher frequency that emits out of the top of the pyramid, which would make sense because if we were talking, we talk about the pyramid being a power generator as well. Where does that focal point of energy come out of? Well, it comes out of the top of the pyramid. So
I just had a thought, you guys. Voodoo dolls.
I was thinking about that earlier. I just didn't say anything.
It's a focus. You attach the thought the thought of someone to a
we'll that.
And
we'll get into that when we get back.
Bad things to the tulpa, and then that's what transfers to that person. That's
Yeah, after we get back and discuss more of this Orgone stuff, we'll have to bring up the voodoo doll thing. I was gonna bring it up earlier, but I didn't have time to.
Voodoo dolls, man.
Yeah, and that's like the ultimate intent thing, right? Like Andy said, you're definitely putting your intent in that doll.
You're messing with things you don't want to be messing with.
How dare you?
Yeah, exactly, Greta. I agree with Greta on that one. How dare you? Right, here we go.
I'm gonna have to leave here in a little bit, okay, guys?
No probs, man. No probs. Just you let us know.
Okay.
Where are we? Oh, I've lost. Where is the vault? There we are.
Oh, loud.
Just watching the time, and then we'll come back to the network. All good in the hood. What are you up to for the weekend, Andy? Oh, hang on. I'm going to bring us back. Here we go.
Oh, okay.
There we go. We are back. Second half of today's Freaky Friday. And don't forget, coming up right after this, it's our good friend Brent Thomas with the Paranormal Portal. So please, please, please stay tuned for that. Brett will be on TFR Live and his YouTube channel as well. I believe he's simulcast. So please, please, please hang around for that, because if you like Freaky Friday, then you are going to love the Paranormal Portal. The two shows, they go perfectly together. I tell you couldn't have engineered it any better if you tried. So Andy's going to have to shoot off at some point soon. So I'm going to come back to Andy in a moment after Scott takes us through a bit more of the Orgone. Is it Orgone? Oregon. I want to say Oregon, but I know it's not a place.
Yeah, I've always wanted to say Oregon too every time I see it, because it looks real similar, but it's Orgone. Yeah, so I mean, apparently these things, if you make them correctly, and we were informed by somebody in the chat that I guess you could make these incorrectly, so you got to know what you're doing if you're going to make
sense, I suppose. If you maybe put one of the layers the wrong way or something, I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, there's obviously like a kind of a certain way you do it. But it says these are the 8 common benefits of Orgone. Number 1, they neutralize EMF radiation. Number 2, they clear negative energy. They aid in meditation. They support restful sleep. They enhance lucid dreaming, which is interesting. We were talking about that not too long ago. They relieve stress. They purify the atmosphere, detoxify water, and improve plant growth. I don't know about detoxify water. I mean, maybe. I guess maybe with that more positive.
I wouldn't go drinking that swamp water just yet.
I wouldn't take an Orgone pyramid to a swamp and just think.
If the priest pulls out an Orgone pyramid at the swamp with you, now you know you're in trouble. You know what I'm saying?
But maybe it detoxifies it in the terms of kind of like. Are you talking
like? I mean, like you go into Chernobyl, get some of that dirty old water out of that pool in there, put it in a bathtub, shove a pyramid of that over it for a couple hours, and it's going to be right as rain. Well, I tell you what, I'll go in after you. You can go first. When you see you coming out glowing and things. I don't know. Is it that good?
It says, with such a long list of benefits people have experienced, it's no wonder they recommend having an Orgone pyramid in every room in the home. The use of different materials can add to the impact as well. For instance, the Orgone pyramid in our Sun Worshipper box included copper and amethyst, which helps enhance intuition and psychic projection.
Nice.
Yes.
Amethyst is my birthstone, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of. This isn't the first time I've heard that amethyst is connected to psychic ability. And enhanced intuition. Maybe that's why you have such a good spidey sense, Kev.
Maybe, dude. No.
Think about it. You said you really kind of you get that spidey sense feeling a lot.
You get a taste of it when I come to you and there's something happening, Scott. You can pretty much gauge if I've fallen down the wrong rabbit hole when I come running to you. But usually it pans out. Yeah, fair enough.
If amethyst is your birthstone, then maybe that's kind of telling you, hey, you inherently have this intuition, this kind of spidey sense, psychic ability, if you will.
I mean, if you've got anything, I mean, Andy, if there's this pyramid, for example, or anything that you can put in your home, your rooms, that instantly put them onto a positive kind of footnote, even just a neutral kind of level. Seems like a no-brainer, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, like, personally, I wouldn't have the pyramid, but I mean, I keep a dog in my room, and he makes my life better because he's my buddy. You know?
Yeah.
Well, I know
So-
Andy's got to go soon, right? But I know during the break, there was another intention conversation that kind of took place, and this really mixes what we're talking about here with some really Freaky Friday type stuff. Voodoo dolls, boys. Yes, you were talking about the voodoo dolls. Andy, I'll come to you first, and we'll get into it. But we're talking about intent and things like that here. You know, magic, a lot of magic is focused intent, right? You know, spelling as well, putting out energetic waves and spells into the ether. But this kind of mental intention, powerful stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, if you're able to have your focused intent directed and, you know, at something or at someone, I would assume that at that point in time, you know, it's going to grasp to whatever you're trying to lay it to, you know. So the whole voodoo doll thing, you're creating a tulpa, you're loading it with your intent, and then you are executing whatever you want to do to that tulpa. I mean, that doesn't always mean, I wouldn't think, that, you know, if you have a voodoo doll that you're trying to do bad things to, let's say, that voodoo doll.
Well, if I was to get a doll that looked like AOC and I was to sit and take care of it day after day and picture myself with AOC, would that mean I'd will her towards me, Andy? Could it be a good thing?
No, but she probably your love. She just wouldn't know where it was.
I made it sound a whole lot creepier than it really should have sounded, but you get where I'm coming from.
Well, I mean, like, you could try it, and if, you know, she messes you, just know Anne will throw a shoe at your head.
I know it's working because she gives me those crazy eyes every time she's on the telly. Have you not seen her, man? That's her crazy eyes at me. I know that.
Oh, she's you? I had
It's
no
the
clue.
doll. It's the doll, dude. I'm telling you, it's powerful, man.
She didn't take her meds.
I think I need to take mine as well. But no, all joking aside, I'm sorry. I just try and have a laugh these days. At the wrong time, I know. But voodoo dolls, Scotty. Some voodoo magic stuff, man. That's some creepy, real stuff going on there. If you know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's definitely a really that's a hardcore example of intent, you know, especially if you're going into it with negative intentions and you make that voodoo doll and you tie it to a person that you want bad things to happen to, and you're poking the pins in it and you're doing all the, you know, the bad things to that doll. You know, that's a hardcore sort of intent focusing ritual or activity, you know. So there's definitely something to that. And that goes with any, I would say, ritual, occult ritual, or anything along that lines, right? Like you get a coven of witches or something doing a ritual out in the woods. They're all focusing their intent on one thing. Or you get people that are trying to summon entities, and, you know, you drawing sigils and you know, sigils and stuff on the ground and all of that's all focused intent and trying to manifest something into reality based off of, you know, a common thing that they're all thinking about. So yeah, it's all intent. And yeah, I mean, it just goes back to what we've been talking about the whole time. I mean, there's something about, you know, going back to, you know, what you were saying in the very beginning, Andy. You know, I think we have that ability to kind of shape our reality or shift ourselves into a different reality. You know, it's all driven by our intent, what we want, and what we kind of envision our future to be like. If you constantly focus on that, then you can manifest that into reality.
Absolutely. I meant, like, it's a very multifaceted thing when you really start thinking about all this stuff. You know, it's hard to put a label on one thing or another when it's such a big thing that, like what I was talking to Kev about with this whole frequencies and alternate realities and all these planes of existence that live on top of one another. And it's just like, I guess, you know, what I was getting to with Kev was that we were talking about, like, what if it's just one of these deals where you are able to shift between realities? You're just trading places with your alternate self, and that version of yourself in another reality is wanting to do the same. So you're just all sharing, you know, coherently with one another. You don't really have to ask because you're all the same person. So if you want to do something, the other version of yourself is going to want to do it too. Yeah. Until you know, cross the plane of ecliptic with the, you know, the other versions of reality that might be the more negative, that are able to affect you a little bit more negatively than, let's say, the, you know, the more positive versions of yourself. So, I mean, if you do have infinite, I can't talk. If you do have infinite realities and you have infinite versions of yourself and you want to just change, I mean, I wouldn't think it'd be too hard to do so. You just kind of have to start thinking about it and be like, I'm going to make a change and I'm going to do it now. And you might be doing it right at that moment, but you only really feel the effects of those types of shifts when they're really big. And that's probably when you're hearing those frequency shifts where you're toning your mindset to the point where you're hearing it literally. You're hearing your pineal gland focusing on something a lot bigger than just going from one reality to the next. You might be making full-blown, you know, multi-dimensional jumps that you don't. It's hard to, you know, say. We don't know. I don't know. I'm just, you know, off in speculation island here, you know, like.
No, you're right, because you know, when I spoke to Geordie, he said you could be talking about a parallel reality where the only difference is one atom over another. Everything's exactly the same. So every memory that your other Kev, your other Andy, your other Scott, the other listeners had, that's all pretty much the same on the realities around about us. So I do get what you're saying, Andy. I love this kind of the fact you've brought up this ringing in the ears, because I was watching the chat room as well. There's so many people are conscious of that happening to them, and I think they appreciate. There's a big difference between what we're talking about and tinnitus and things like that. I'm going to tell people right now what happened to me after Andy told me was. Granted, it was something I was aware of, but I'd never really thought about it. I just thought it was pressure or something like that, you know. Definitely an internal thing, though. And since he told me, then now when I do have it, and it's happened maybe twice, once at the kettle the other night, I don't know, it's like when somebody buys a new car, Scotty, because somebody's put it into your consciousness. You become more aware of it, right? So I'm warning the listeners and the viewers right now, you're going to start noticing this maybe. Maybe you haven't noticed it before and you're going to notice it the next time. I think it's feasible, Scott. There's no way we can prove or disprove what we're saying here, but I think it's a good working kind of model for what could be happening when it comes to timelines and Mandelas and dimensions and glitches and deja vus, you know?
Yeah, like I said, it's completely different from the tinnitus thing. It's a whole kind of level of, it's something that you all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what's going on? I'm hearing, it's like, and you're like, what the heck is that? And then it just kind of, it either fades out or it just stops completely. And I have no idea what that could be. I mean, you're obviously picking up on something. Something is causing this resonant frequency or noise to happen, within your head, I would say. And, you're just perceiving it as sound. But no, I mean, I like Andy's thought process on this because, like I said, I've often wondered kind of not the same thing in the sense of like jump into kind of like alternate realities or parallel dimensions, but like just what could it be? Like is it some kind of a frequency that I'm able to pick up that nobody else can hear? But if other people are experiencing it, then it's obviously kind of this more common thing, and it's kind of an unexplained phenomenon, basically.
It's like one day this week I had a sucky day. I was like, hauling ass, man. And it was lucky because my guest had cancelled that day. And so I took it off, but I look at that day compared to every other day this week and I wonder what was different. Why was that day almost like draggy and dull and miserable and just couldn't be motivated? Maybe it's not what was different about that day. Maybe I was experiencing one of these other more negative timelines that day. The Kev I was. You get where I'm coming from with that, Andy or Scott? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So here's a good thing that we could all try. Literally everyone that's listening and anyone that listens to this in the future is the next time you hear that ringing in your ears for the rest of the day, don't try to be negative or positive. It's not about that, but try to pay attention to the cues that you're getting from your surroundings, like time, interactions with people, the intent that people are trying to either take or give you, and the whole synchronicity thing with time, like not just the time, but I mean like when it happens, and then start looking for those numerical values that usually key us up to being a little bit more aware than we usually are, like your 1111s, your 111s, your 1212s, all that stuff. You really look at the time when it happens, and then look at the time once you start noticing your clock out of nowhere, because I swear that every time it's ever happened to me, without fail, I get an 1111 or 1212 or a 1010 or something like that. It only happens on those numerical values that resonate with me. Like if you have a number that resonates with you, pay attention to it. It might actually be happening right when that's happening, and you wouldn't even know until it happens. Just make it a point to look at the clock, and like, if not, pay attention the next time you just look at the clock for no reason. I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, it's going to be one of those weird numerical values that you don't understand, that have a lot to do with what's going on in your reality. Like, I was always told that 1111 means you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I heard that. It was like confirmation from the universe, Andy. You're on the right path, man.
Yeah, but like like a negative number would be like a 12-12 or like a something along those lines, where you're getting the negative numbers that don't correlate with what the things that you want in your life, which I don't know. I'm very skeptical of some of the stuff, but when it literally happens all the time, there might be something more to it than what we might be giving it credit for. And if that's the case, then maybe we do need to pay more attention to those types of things, because there's something there that we don't understand. And maybe it's one of these things that we're not going to understand it until we're in the next place, not this realm of reality. Maybe we'll understand it more when we're in the next version of life, not saying your next life. I'm saying what happens after you leave this plane of existence. Maybe it's a counting thing, like maybe those are markers in our timeline that we experience that, it's like putting a bookmark in a novel that you're reading. Those numbers might be bookmarks for certain things in life that you need to remember. So I don't know. There's a lot to be said about a lot of this stuff, because it really is all skepticism about, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? But at the same time, it's like there's a lot of good things that are happening when those things are happening, like. Sorry, my dogs are losing their mind.
But yeah, I mean, look, I'm one of these people that I experience numbers a lot, and it's the number 3. Like, I see 3.
That's a divine number, right? Holy Trinity.
Believe so. I mean, it's a pretty big number in numerology and
So I don't
all
like
that.
about numerology, Scott. I'll get your thoughts on this, but there's so many different interpretations of it, right? And with intent, it really matters what you think a number means, right?
Yeah. I mean, the common thing I've heard about 3 is that it has to do with like creativity and the divine spark and being like a bringer of change and stuff like that. And, I mean, I don't know. Like you said, I mean, there's different interpretations of it, I think, depending on who you talk to. But in general, yeah, I mean, it kind of, it's like that Trinity number and whatever. But I mean, regardless of what it means, I mean, I see it all the time. That that's just a fact. Like, I always look at the clock, 3:33. I also see like numbers that 3 divides into. So I see 6s and 9s a lot as well, which is interesting because 3, 6, 9, those are the Tesla numbers, right?
Yep.
And and I constantly see those, and whoa, holy crap! I just got the ringing in my ear just now.
You did it.
Not joking at all. It just, in my right side, just went wow.
Yep. Something
Weird.
Gonna
Weird.
change.
You see,
Very weird.
little did you know, Scott, that Freaky Friday is actually a show where we talk about gardening, and we've been talking about planting cabbages tonight. Now that you've appeared on this timeline, now that you're on a different timeline, Freaky Friday might be different, dude. We're a gardening show.
Yeah, what were you
the cabbages are growing well, Kev. Yes. The
Awesome,
cabbages.
my friend. Awesome.
Yeah.
informed now?
Imagine it got that weird though, that like in the middle of a show or something, or in the middle you're doing something, and you carry on doing what you were doing, but then the people round about you are like, "Whoa, what are you all about?"
Hey, that happens to me all day long. but it's mainly because I'm very ADHD. So
there is that. There is that element to you can add that in. But imagine it though. Imagine it gets that weird. What it's weird how this all.
It might be something. Here's another thing with all this is, what if people that are considered, the crazies, the people that have dementia, what if they're just fully tapped into what's going on? What if they are experiencing all of everything all at the same time? And we are on the outside looking at them like they're crazy, but they're just like, ha ha ha, yeah, okay. And they're just going about the rest of their life because they're experiencing all the crazy stuff all the time at all points in time. What if that's reality?
We've discussed this before, right? A lot of these people that you would consider, that they would consider to be on the spectrum or whatever. What if they're just operating at a completely different level? Their vibration is, their mind is tapped into a completely different reality, and they're experiencing a different reality than we are.
We're going to experience the reality of hour number 3 after this short break. Will you be on the same timeline that we left you on? That's the question. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. There we are. That's been a quick 2 hours. Damn.
When you go back, pretend like I was never on the show.
That's it, dude. Have you got to shoot off now, Andy?
Yeah, I do.
No problem, man.
I'm just saying, do that.
I will. Yeah, we'll do that. It's just been me and Scott all day today. I don't know what you've all been watching.
Maximum confusion.
It'd been even better if I had Joe Joseph waiting in the wings just to take over. On the fly, sneak him in, see if anyone noticed.
Just start talking about how you wish that I would have come on the show. And that'll really.
That's it, dude. That's what we'll do. We'll wing something up. But Andy, no, this has been good, man. You've made my head hurt, but in a good way. In a good way, because these conversations, like I say, they take us right to the limit. It's.
I'm gonna have to actually start trying to give myself some type of, spoken dialogue thing, text to talk, so that I can help straighten some of this out, because I don't feel like I even touched upon what we were talking about the other day.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
A little bit, but to the point when we were talking about the other day, it was kind of like my brain's starting to hurt thinking about it personally.
That's okay.
It's hard when you have a concept and kind of a train of thought that is very, very hard to articulate into words, because a lot of times this stuff, it's the concepts, it's hard to even put into words. So I know exactly what you mean, man. It's hard to try and put this into a kind of a coherent package for people to digest, because it's just so out there, so mind blowing that it's like.
I feel like I have the vocabulary. I just don't have it in order. That's my issue. I don't have the dialogue in order for it to make sense, and it's being all sporadically ADHD the way I am. It makes it even harder to get my point across. So it's just like, okay, well, I'm gonna do my best then, I guess.
I think you've done all right, dude. You get going, and I'll give you a message tomorrow or something, and we'll revisit this topic again soon, so that we can build upon this foundation. Because I think this has been a good introduction to some of the deeper kind of stuff that we were, like you say, it's hard to even put into words. The kind of the ideas that we're having.
Yeah, it really lights your mind on fire for a little bit.
Which is good because it keeps your neurons firing. And even if you get nowhere in the end of the day, well, it's been a good brain exercise anyway.
Definitely. Get some of that neuroplasticity worked out.
Exactly, dude. Now, you anything nice planned for the weekend then?
No, just
chilling out.
Working on the car, probably hanging out with a certain someone you already know.
Yes. Now you get going then, because then if not, I'll have to bring you back, and then we'll have to say goodbye on the show, and it's going to be. Are you staying?
don't
Are
do
you
that.
going?
I gotta go. You go ahead, pretend like I was never here.
I will do, dude. I will do. We'll just leave your picture up and just pretend you're still there and you've fallen out with us. That's what we'll do. Right? I'll catch you later, Andy.
All right, later
Catch
guys.
you later, man. There we go. I'm watching the clock here. Now that's deep, deep stuff, Scotty. Deep stuff, and yeah, we'll talk about it on the other side as well. Here we go. That's the time up now. There we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm one of your hosts, Kev Baker. We've got Scotty Lopez with us as well, and together we are Freaky Friday. Yes, but a good show so far, Scotty boy. Time's what we're talking about, man. Time after time. Oh, the head hurts.
Time after time.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
what's your top tips for people out there for planting this year's potatoes, Scott? Hey, Edward.
Stock up again on supplies, everyone. Love and peace to all.
Oh, love and peace to you as well, Edward. And Edward was posting his pictures the other day. He's over there on the west coast where it's a bit smoky, getting a bit kind of choky again. But yeah, tell you, dude, speaking to Nano Girl the other night as well. It's like Groundhog Day almost, isn't it? We started off the year 2020 talking about Australia. Before that, we'd been talking about California and fires, and now we're back with California and fires again. Brownouts, power outs.
Next week. Yeah, man, dude, it's crazy the fires that are going on out there. Just next week, though, we could potentially have two hurricanes hitting at the exact same time in the Gulf of Mexico.
Whoa. Now, I've seen a kind of cool shot from the ISS of one of the hurricanes that's forming. It's gargantuan, dude. It's huge.
Yeah.
Is there one over the US right now?
No. One's forming in the Caribbean and one's forming in the Atlantic, but they're both tracking towards the Gulf of Mexico. So they're both going to be in the Gulf of Mexico at the same time. And last I checked, one is it looks like it's going to be moving towards Texas, and the other is going to be moving kind of towards the Florida panhandle, maybe like yeah. I don't know exactly where in northern Florida Popeye is. I don't think he's
Somewhere
in the
where
panhandle.
there's lots of chickens.
Yeah, somewhere where there's lots of chickens, definitely. But yeah, this is kind of an unprecedented thing.
What? Say it isn't so. 2020 throwing something unprecedented at us.
Some people are wondering if there's a certain I forgot the name of the effect, but it's a physics effect where two vortices that come into close proximity with each other will start rotating around each other.
Yeah, like you get the kind of dance that you get with two black hole kind of things as well.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, that's got to like multiply wins and things. Just thinking about it off the top of my head.
Exactly. I mean, that's what some
Does one not just eat the other one up?
It's not that simple.
No.
It's not. It's not that. Not that simple.
Timeline I come from, it's that simple.
They could merge.
I can
maybe
master the weather.
Oh, blah.
Blah.
But it makes me wonder, like, how does that change the tracks of these things if you start getting this weird physics effect where they start maybe wanting to try and pull closer together and do this rotating around each
Maybe
other?
it'll open a vortex, Scott. It'll literally crack open space and time, and we'll see one of these other dimensions, and we'll go, look how cool it looks over there, man.
Are we going to have this deadly dance of twin hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico? I don't know, man.
Like
It'll be interesting to
the
see,
deadly
no doubt.
dance. So that's clickbait right there. I like that. I need to sneak that one into the title, man.
As a weather nerd, I'm just like,
are you getting aroused by the potential that this is bringing?
A little bit.
You look very happy with yourself, I must admit.
I'm just fascinated in how this is going to play out because I've never seen this. Right now, I mean, it doesn't look like they're going to be like strong hurricanes, maybe Category 1. I mean, regardless, even if it's a tropical storm, it's still bad. But 2 hurricanes, who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be wild. 2020, man. Just when you thought it couldn't get any crazier, 20 freaking 20 is I don't know.
It's the year that just keeps on giving, Scott. It really is. If this is what this year's like, what is next year going to be like? That's all I can say, because it doesn't look like it's going to slow down any,
Yeah, if we're in this exponential curve of craziness, then you got to take what has happened this year and double it for next year.
Well, remember Terence McKenna? Remember Terence McKenna? He was like that pretty deep, cool dude. Took a lot of shrooms and acid, and would talk about machine elves. But he had a kind of theory called Timeline Zero. Remember that, Scotty? And
it sounds familiar.
And I know a lot of people kind of like tied it up with the 2012 thing, but regardless of where it falls on the timeline, this theory, right? Terence would say you'd reach a point, Scott, of it was either complete novelty or there'd be no novelty left. It's like when you get to the point where we've basically invented everything there is to create and all the rest of it, and we must be reaching that with AI, right? Because that's going to basically create everything else that there is to create. And it makes you wonder if this is like this novelty time. But this time after Timeline Zero, after the timeline, or when we switch into something new. Because I don't know. It just seems. It seems weirder. There seems to be something, I think, profoundly going on multiple levels. I don't know, dude. It's just. I would need to go back and watch the Timeline Zero stuff again. But the peaks and things, he had it where it would like line up with significant periods in histories. Dark Ages, Renaissance, and it would go along. But it reached this thing. Yeah, I'll need to go and have a look at that. But if this is the time of novelty or no novelty, however he used to explain it, he might have been onto something right enough, right? Because 2020 feels like somebody flicked a switch somewhere, dude, and it's all gone kind of haywire. People are going haywire. The stories are going haywire. Politicians are going haywire. Everything's going haywire.
Yeah.
You've got black holes. Black holes are blinking out of existence and coming back in again. You've got scientists saying we might have a black hole where Planet 9 should have been. It's what the heck, man?
I think this goes back to kind of what we were talking about with Andy, right? Well, for one, I think that we experience these sort of patterns, these repeating patterns that occur, and we may be phasing into one of these patterns. And I also think that I'm not going to put an exact date on it, but I think the general time frame around 2012 was kind of this point when we shifted into something different. Was something happened? Did we phase into another timeline? Did we move into an area of space where that had this weird effect on it. I mean, who knows? But I definitely, I mean, this ties into like moving into a new age and things like that as well.
Very much.
Right? Like I think the Mayans understood this, that there is there are these patterns and these things that occur, and that they understood that around this time we were going to be moving into a new age. And now, what did they mean by that? Does that mean we were phasing into another timeline, moving into a different sort of dimension, that humanity maybe moves into a different kind of frequency?
You know, the
or
quantum
something?
businessman says it's like a place in space. It's dusty. It's like a cloud. It's kind of murky where we're going through now, Scott, and we emerge. Same thing you're talking about. You call that a new age, a new time, whatever it is, you know. So,
But you know, from what I understand, you know, when you go through these changes, when you go through this phasing from one age into another, there's going to be chaos because you are going through this change. You know, you're shedding the old, you're shedding the old and bringing in the new, and in order to do that, you know, you have to go through some turmoil because not everybody, you know, accepts it, I guess you could say, or understands what's going on. And so you get like a period of chaos during the shift, I guess you could say. I don't know. It's interesting, but I do believe that we have shifted into something completely weird, you know, like, and we've talked about it many times, Kev, how it, you know, how many times we go, man, it feels like we're living in a completely different timeline almost. You know what I mean?
people are different. Even people we've known are just not quite the people we once knew. They're the same people, but they're not the same people. And I bet you people listening to this right now, you think about people around you, and I bet you can make that fit with your reality as well. Yeah, they're the same people, same job, same house, same look, same relationships. But do they seem exactly the same? I'm telling you, there's something weird going on. Now we're going to take a little listen, or we'll try and take a little listen here to Terence McKenna. It's Time Wave Zero. Okay,
Ooh, Time Wave Zero.
Yeah, so we'll try and take a little listen to this. It's only 3 minutes. Try to find one quite quick because it's a very long and in-depth kind of theory, you know.
Yeah, you know, when you're listening to Terence McKenna stuff, it's hard to...
Yeah, you don't really get, like, Anthony Patch was great. He used to give people the big headline, the big reveal at the very start, and then backfill. So Terence McKenna, not so much. He done most of his backfilling in about 5 hours of talking before he gets to the good bit. So we'll try it. We'll have a look. Here we go, folks. Take a listen to this. Wait, we see. Make sure it's playing now. Hang on. Oh.
We are living through, in a 67-year period that stretches from 1945 to 2012, a compressed version of a larger historical epoch.
I really wish it didn't have that loud music over the top of it, but folks, when he says like 2012, let's just think to ourselves, maybe now, okay? Put 2020 in where he's talking about.
Yeah, he's just talking about a general time frame, so don't focus merely on 2012. Just think about the general timeline, or that general time area.
1,306 years long that also ends in 2012.
I'm gonna find one without the music. It's
yeah, it's kind of...
It's just annoying. 3 minutes. Okay, we'll try this one.
We are living through, in a 67-year period that stretches from 1945 to 2012, a compressed version of a larger historical epoch, 4,306 years long, that also ends in 2012. So that we have reached, by this reckoning, the late 700s right now. This is what we are living through. And ahead of us lies the Gothic Renaissance, the European Enlightenment, the discovery of the Newtonian mechanics, the discovery of the New World. That all lies ahead of us. It all has to be compressed into the next 22 years of time. And that is what accounts for the crazy quality of modernity.
Scotty.
Okay, I like what he's
I'm
saying.
liking this here, right? So you take everything that's happened in the past cycle, as you call it here, and you went back to the 700s, and everything that happened from then until, we're going to say 2020, now has to all be compressed down and take place, because it's fractal, right? So everything's got to take place in now. What he says is a 22-year period. If 2020 is anything to go by, Scott, we could be in for 22 years of a roller coaster. If we're ballparking and saying, well, maybe we're wrong with 2012, and maybe we were all wrong with that date. That was us that put that date out there, not the Mayans, you know? So maybe it was now, dude. They were just pointing to roundabout now. I'd say now is a bit of, we can say something changed.
Definitely. And I like how he's going about this here, because first of all, you have to factor in the exponential curve of technological advancement, right? So that will help compress this as well. And you know, he's speaking about it in terms of a fractal, right? And so he's essentially saying that, you know, here within a short period of time, we're going to experience basically coming back out of the Dark Ages, experiencing the Renaissance and all of this stuff. Now, how does that take form in our current time, right? Like the Renaissance was like a rediscovering of art and architecture and enlightenment and scientific discovery and all of that. I mean, are we going to see this massive boom in science and discovery? Does that correlate to the rise of artificial intelligence and the potential boom of scientific discovery and enlightenment that could potentially accompany the utilization of AI, right? So, I mean, could that be like our new Renaissance in a sense? Then he said the discovery of the New World, right? What if that takes shape in the form of us going to Mars? The discovery of a new world, reaching, you know. So, you know, he's talking about these repeating patterns, but we have to look at it within that context. So, like I said, Renaissance, maybe that has to do with the artificial intelligence, opening new avenues of
all
science.
the inventions that have like taken place in would be 1,300 years. You could easily see an AI spitting that out in 20 odd years if it's constantly going to be coming up with new things, looking at the same info we've always had, newer inventions. Yeah, definitely, Scott.
Yeah, so we're seeing a repeating pattern, a fractal pattern of history occurring. Just, you know, it's taking it's taking form in a different way, but it's essentially the same thing. You know, a boom in technology, a boom of Renaissance, if you will. So yeah, I mean, very, very interesting. Play the rest of it. I'm kind of interested in.
Yeah, I want to hear. It's only a couple of minutes anyway, but like I was saying there, if I remember rightly, and I'll need to go and look at this again. I mean, when this was first kind of played out by McKenna, I'm pretty sure it was just a wave. And then I'm pretty sure it was afterwards that people put the 2012 kind of significance into it. Because everyone was pointing at that, I think he tied it in with it. But let's just take the idea. I mean, the idea itself. And I like the whole talk of fractal nature of reality, because we can actually see that.
Oh,
You can see that in the golden ratio, and you can see that in nature everywhere. So I'd be surprised if reality didn't have a fractal kind of aspect to it. And then if that's the case, and we just forget that 2012 date, then can we say it feels like something's changed this year? I think most people would say yeah. Now, does that mean this is definitely confirmation of McKenna's theory? Of course it doesn't. But I'm sure if he was around now, he'd be playing about with the dates and all, you know?
Yeah, and I was always a believer, even back during the 2012 time when everybody was freaking out about 2012, that the area between 2020 and 2022 was actually when a lot of big stuff was going to happen. Even back then, that's what my thought process was that it was going to be like a 2020 to 2022 timeline, because I had seen a lot of things about 2022 and stuff being discussed about big events and big changes occurring, and now we're in 2020 and there's a lot of big
Scott, that was just long game LARPers. They were building their next 10 years of LARPville. That's
yeah.
I'm only joking, dude.
Yeah.
But let's take another listen to McKenna. Let's see what else he's gonna bamboozle us with, man.
It's what accounts for fads and fashions. You know, hemlines are rising and falling in a rhythm based on the rise and fall of empires millennia ago. And these things are as causally linked as the orbit of the Earth is linked to the sun, you see. Because we are being drawn toward the attractor through shorter and shorter epochs. And not only must the entire last 4,000 years of history be compressed into this 67-year period from 1945 to 2012, but there is a 384-day period preceding December 22nd, 2012, when the last 67 years and the last 4,300 years have to be compressed into that. Then there's a final 6-day period when all of these things are compressed again. And so do you see what's happening? The spiral is tightening as it goes faster and faster. The resonances are impinging. The thing is getting nuttier and nuttier.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if we just think of that tightening spiral, take all the dates out of it. You know, that tightening nature, that way it gets faster and faster and fits it all into a smaller and smaller time period. I think if we take our Gregorian man-made time frame out of things, Scott, I think we could say that we could definitely say he's onto something, right? Because everyone's always said throughout history, I would imagine, time's speeding up. And according to this time, it always is speeding up. Yep.
Does this explain why we are perceiving time to be moving faster and faster and faster? You know, we've noticed, oh man, it just seems like a week went by and it felt like a day. Or,
it used to be older people, and you'd hear people saying to you, your parents would say to you, "I'll just wait till you get to my age, you know, everything will fly by," and you'd think, "Oh yeah, whatever." But even the young ones now are going, "No, time flies by. Time's crazy." Young people pick up on it as well, you know, because it's going faster.
Yeah, people thinking that, oh, it's actually, Tuesday instead of Wednesday, and you get these weird kind of time gaps, time slips as well. I think might play into this, and yeah, just the general perception of the acceleration of time. Well, if you look at it within the context of what McKenna is saying right here, where everything seems to be compressing, the tighter and tighter it pulls into the spiral. It really starts to make sense. And one of the you know, one of the core aspects of physics, right, is when something pulls tighter into a spiral, it moves faster as well, right? It's like when a ice skater pulls their arms in, they spin faster, right? As something is pulled closer and closer into what it is rotating around, it accelerates and it moves quicker. So the acceleration of time, essentially, I mean, it's what he's saying. It seems like we're being pulled closer and closer into some kind of a singularity, a spiral or something like that. You know, we're on a spiral path towards the center of something.
The great attractor, as McKenna calls it. But always keep your minds open to the possibility, ladies and gents, that this is all just the power of our own minds. And we've often talked about pareidolia, but that's very specific to clouds and images that we look at. Bits of toast, you see Jesus on it. But all information, and when anything's random and doesn't quite make sense and doesn't adhere to strict guidelines that we like to put on everything, then our brains do rush to try and find meaning to sometimes things that have no meaning. And maybe time is just time. Past, present, future. It just always rolls on. And we are the ones at the center of all of this woo. Either way, it's pretty cool, and we'll be back on the other side to finish off our dive into the time stream. Don't go anywhere.
What is it, Cookie?
Yep, there you go. We've got one segment to go, you great people. Now I'm going to have a little drink of coffee. Going to have a little PPP. Anyone that partakes in the PPP out there, now is a good time to do that. I want to thank you all for being here today. It means the absolute world to us. Great hearing from Andy earlier on as well. He's the one that inspired this little dive into the time talk. And I'm looking forward to building on this with Andy. And then Epic later on this week. Epic Journeyman will be coming on. We'll be talking time. So, yeah, this is a good time to be talking about time. And we'll be back in 2 minutes time. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, there we are with our creepy eyeballs, Scotty boy. Yes, indeed. I'm sure people out there like, look at that Kev Baker with his eyeballs on that screen. We know what you're all about, Baker. We've got your card marked. Hey, make of it what you will. I put only good intentions into my rogue eyeballs on the stream. So we'll come back after the break. We'll talk a little bit more about time. And I've got an article, Scott, about 8 secret societies that you've probably never heard of. Now, I must admit there was some in there that I hadn't heard of. So that could be a nice way to take us up nicely till the end of the show, but it's been a really quick one again, dude. I've been looking forward to Andy coming on, and I get what Andy was saying about how the 2 hours we done really didn't even scratch the surface of the kind of text talk. Sometimes it's easier, you know, to unload and unpackage things in text. Send it off in a packet of info, a download. And then when it comes to talking about it, it's kind of harder to extrapolate out the details that once were there.
Yeah, I constantly have that problem.
Here we go.
How dare you?
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
Now that was the most confusing Wookiee comeback that you've ever experienced right here on your #1 abnormal, paranormal, freaky show in the world and other worlds. A big shout out to anyone else on other timelines out there. A big shout out to the other Kev. I hope your experience is a whole lot more positive than mine, pal. And a big shout out to the other Kevs who have got even more meaningless experiences than me. Dang dudes. Wouldn't it be cool if you could hang out with all your other selves, Scott? That'd be kind of cool, right?
Can be pretty interesting.
But what did you think about what I said before the break? Because we like to look at things from all angles, and we have to keep our minds open to the fact that we might just be experiencing our brains looking to make sense of something that is out of our reach. Something that people on that next dimension, the one that, where they work the time, outside of time, they're sitting laughing themselves to bits right now. They're like, oh, we knew these clowns were going to be talking about this today. Look at them. Great effort, boys. Great effort. But when you get to where we are, you are going to laugh. You're going to piss yourself when you find out what's really going on down there.
You know, maybe we should take the old Kenneth Webb approach and it's just like, man, maybe we just a brain in a jar, man.
I think so, dude. I honestly do. I do. Although that sounds almost like Joe Biden. Come on, man.
Yeah,
come on, man. Brilliant.
When I was kind of chuckling to myself whenever Andy was like, "Hey, you know, what if some of these people that have dementia, what if they're operating on a totally different level of?" And I was like, "I don't think Joe Biden's."
No, he's on a different level. It's definitely not a better one though.
Exactly.
His operating system's glitching, man. He's blue screening about 3 times a day. He's got the blue screen. It's a telltale sign. The old hard drive's going, man. It's not got long left in there, let's face it, you know?
Yeah, you remember the old mechanical hard drives when they start going out, you start hearing
Somebody's
the
suffering
clicking.
what Joe Biden's got. Everything's been novelty for about the past 5 years. He doesn't know if it's New Year or New York, you know?
He's not even operating on an old school hard drive. He's operating on a 5.7-inch floppy disk.
Floppy, yeah, big time, dude. Floppy, and it goes right up his. There you go. Yes, indeedy. So, any other thoughts on time, Mr. Lopez, before we totally shift gears altogether and talk about something?
I mean, I think it was a very interesting, just a very interesting discussion we have when it comes to intent, and then we moved into time, and
I think we barely even opened up a little portal and looked at the time stream. We kind of had a little look at it and thought, we've talked about the surface of it, but we need to dive right in next time.
But I think the Terence McKenna stuff makes a lot of sense. It really does, and I think that really. I think it does explain the reason why people are experiencing time accelerate as well. I think it has a lot to do with it.
I agree with you there, yeah. And I think, we need to take the dates out of it. Just think about that speeding up of the time. Yeah, and I'm sure there's people out there that are actually privy to the kind of knowledge that we're talking about. You can go back to the kind of ancient mystery schools, as they used to talk about, Scotty, and all of that good knowledge that was occulted away from the peons The people at the bottom of the pyramid. Yeah, you and me, folks. That's who I'm talking about. And that information hasn't gone away. In fact, it's been even more occulted into secret societies that have been running forever. Now, we've talked about the Freemasons. Everyone talks about the Freemasons. I still laugh when, you know, if you say to somebody, name the number one secret society, undoubtedly they're going to tell you it's the Freemasons, which kind of makes me laugh because they can't be that secret if everyone's got the same answer, right? But what about the orders that we haven't heard so much about? That's got to be something of interest, Scotty, even before I dive into this, right? Because if we haven't heard about them, right, then they could be up to some really sneaky shenanigans. And depending on who's in these lodges or these groups, it could be quite interesting to see what's going on here.
Yes.
You're like me. You don't throw like the Freemasons out with the bathwater just because they're in a lodge, right? We're kind of more open-minded than that.
Yeah, just because you're a Freemason doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's ridiculous. We're talking about a certain segment of individuals that have embedded themselves within Freemasons.
It's like my stepdad. He's really into them. Right, not so much now, but I find it almost like wet my pants hysterical when I hear people saying that all Masons have got this plot to take over the world. I think to myself, Frank was fishing in his painting. He's got some plot for world domination. Are you kidding me on?
Yeah, my uncle's a Freemason. I'm like, nah, I don't see him trying to take over the world or.
Not yet, Scott. Not that you know about. Him and Frank are plotting, man. They're plotting. I'm telling you. But let's take a look at some of the groups that we might not have heard about before. So we come over here to the Smithsonian magazine, no less. Yes, the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
8 secret societies you might not know. So they might actually be secret. The popularity of these secret clubs peaked in the 18th and the 19th centuries. So it says, by their very name, secret societies inspire curiosity, fascination, and distrust. When the Washington Post broke the story last month that the Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia spent his final hours in the company of members of a secret society of elite hunters, people instantly wanted to know more about the group. The fraternity in question, the International Order of St. Hubertus, was incorporated by Count Anton von Spork, great name, von Spork, in 1695, and was originally intended to gather, quote, the greatest noble hunters of the 17th century, particularly in Bohemia, Austria, and other countries of Austro-Hungarian Empire, ruled by the Habsburgs, according to its official website. And after the organization denied memberships to the bad guys from World War II, notably military leader Hermann Göring, well, the main bad guy with the tash, he dissolved it. But the order re-emerged after World War II, and an American chapter was founded in the late 1960s. Now, the order was just one of many clandestine organizations that exist today, though the popularity of these secret clubs peaked in the 18th and 19th centuries.
So they want you to believe.
So they want you to believe that, yeah, exactly, Scott. You can't believe anything. And this is according to Noah Schachtman. He's named Noah. He probably can build a good boat. I don't know if he knows all the stuff about the Masons, though. So this was in Wired magazine. Back then, many of these secret societies served as safe spaces. Who knew, Scott, that they had safe? Particularly done jazz hands in the lodge. Jazz hands, point of contention. Yes, it says safe space for open dialogue about, oh no, snowflakes wouldn't have that. about everything from academia to religious discourse, removed from the restrictive eye of the church and state. As Schachtman, what a great name, writes, these societies were the incubators of democracy, modern science, and ecumenical religion. They elected their own leaders and drew up constitutions to govern their operations. It wasn't an accident that Voltaire, George Washington, and Ben Franklin were all active members. And just like today's networked radicals, much of their power was wrapped up in their ability to stay anonymous and keep their communications secret. Whoa, but it's pretty true though, right? You know?
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to stay out of the crosshairs of the state and the church at the time, you kind of had to find a way to gather like-minded individuals in secret so you can discuss things that were big no-nos, you know, at the time. So you did have to gather kind of these secret meetings and these secret groups. Yeah, no doubt.
The emphasis on secret was what inspired so much distrust in the exclusive clubs. So no less than the New York Times weighed in on secret societies in 1880, not wholly dismissing the theory that Freemasonry brought about the Civil War and acquitted President Johnson and has committed or concealed crimes without number. The Times comments, quote, "This able theory of Freemasonry is not so readily believed as the theory that the European secret societies are the ruling power in Europe, but there are still people as yet outside the lunatic asylum who firmly believe it." Many religious leaders felt, at the very least, conflicted about secret orders. In 1887, Reverend T. DeWitt Talmage wrote his sermon on, quote, "the moral effect of Freemasonry, odd fellowships, Knights of Labour, the Greek alphabet, and other societies." Now, the Reverend, who said he had, quote, "hundreds of friends who belonged to orders," used Proverbs 25:9. Discover not a secret to another. And to ask his audience to question whether or not a member of a secret society would be a positive or negative decision for them. Meanwhile, the same week, Cardinal James Gibbons took a more definitive stand on secret orders, saying that they had no excuse for existence. So it says, in the United States in the 19th century, there was enough of a national uproar against secret societies that one concerned group created an annual anti-secret society convention. So in 1869, that was a far better time, Scott.
I just want to know, was this Lothar's great-great-grandpappy?
Big Lothar was there, dude, wasn't he? You know it. So in 1869, at the National Convention in Chicago, the attendees went after the, quote, secular press. The organization's secretary said that the press either approved or ignored secret societies. Hey, you know, there's some things that just never change, right? That media, you know, people were calling them out back in 1869 because they've got an agenda. So
I
why?
find it interesting, like, you know, before, I mean, you see the parallels with now.
Especially
like
after listening to McKenna as well, because we're going through all of this again, only online with different groups and different things. And...
Yeah, I mean, it's this parallel, you know, this pattern that we're falling into again. And you know, when they talk about, you know, this guy discussing only people outside of the asylum, you know, are you know, still falling. You know,
theorists. Yep.
Basically talking about conspiracy
using
the
pejorative, Scotty. You know, they're you know, nothing's changed. Nothing.
Yeah, there are actually people outside of the mental asylum who believe this garbage, you know, and it's like, wow, yeah. So it's very interesting how history repeats itself.
And here we are, nearly 200 years later, still as barking mad. It's great. It says, while, quote, few religious papers have spunk enough to come out for Christ in opposition to Masonry. Now that surely has to say spoke enough, or no,
yeah,
no. In fact, it does no. It's the other meaning of that word. The guts, guts enough to come out. Yes, yes.
Okay.
But in 1892, the group, stop laughing, Kev, which deemed the societies and quote evil to society and a menace to our civil institutions, have failed to, quote, secure them anything but strong denunciation. So while the Da Vinci Code novelist Dan Brown and his contemporaries have shined a light upon some of the bigger secret fraternal organisations like, go on, Scotty, the Order of the Skull and Bones, the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, and the Illuminati. Oh yeah, we sneaked it in, dude. We got two Illuminatis in tonight's show. Awesome.
Yes, we did.
Lesser known groups that have compelling stories of their own. Here are just a few. The first group, the Improved Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks of the World. Ever heard of that secret society, Scott?
Oh, no.
Funnily enough, either had I. In 1907, the Seattle Republican reported on the Order of Elks. Do you think they just, like, ran around, like, naked, making, like, moose noises and making moose horns in their head and things like that? I don't know. Right in that quote, it is claimed by members and officers that this is one of the most thriving secret societies among Afro-Americans of this city. Now, according to the non-profit African American Registry, the Fraternal Order was founded in Cincinnati, Ohio, in 1899 after two black men were denied admission to the Benevolent and Protective Order of the Elks of the World, which is still popular today and, despite questions raised on discriminative practices, now allows any American citizen 21 years or older who believes in God to be invited to join its ranks. The two men decided to take the order's name and make their own club around it. Formerly called the Improved Benevolent and Protective Order of the Elks of the World, the order was once considered to be at the centre of the black community. So I wonder what they'd make of BLM. During that era of segregation, the lodge was one of the few places where black men and women could socialise, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette wrote. In recent years, however, the Post-Gazette commented that the secret organisation has struggled to retain its relevance. Still, the secret society continues to sponsor educational scholarship programs, youth summer computer literacy camps, parades, as well as community service activities throughout the world. Did you have any idea about that one?
No, I mean, I thought I had heard of the Order of the Elks because
who could forget that once you've heard it?
I believe a friend of mine was telling me about it, and you know, yeah, but I didn't know that there was like an entire spinoff, you know, based off of because of the discriminatory practices of it, which, you know, I mean that's cool, but now that it seems like they include everybody now, there would really be no need to segregate yourself anymore. But now that it seems like segregation is becoming a coming back in style, obviously.
Even though it really shouldn't exist, but hey,
Even though it shouldn't exist, but now we have groups that
timeline
want
me and Scotty came from, it was looking pretty much fair to me.
Yeah,
You know,
now that we have groups that actually want to segregate themselves again, maybe we'll see a rise in the improved what is it, the improved order of
the improved benevolent and protective order of the
yes.
Elks. Thank you. Get it right, Scott. Come on now. Give these people their fair title. And I get it. I get it. You know, improved benevolent order of the Elks lives matter doesn't work. So I get why they didn't. I get why they ditched that. Next one up, and we're never going to get through all of them here. The Grand Orange Lodge. Oh,
Hey, is a certain somebody a member of that? I wonder.
Mr. Bad.
Mr. Bad
Could be, but this is the one. This is what causes all the problems in the west of Scotland and Ireland. So we've got the Grand Orange Lodge, known more commonly as the Orange Order. It got its name from Prince William III, the Prince of Orange, and it was founded after the Battle of Diamond outside a small village in modern-day Northern Ireland called Loch Gall. It proposed, or its purpose was to protect Protestants, and that is why, in 1849, the Lord Lieutenant of Ireland, George William Frederick Villiers, captured the ire of Dublin's Waterford News by supporting the society. The paper wrote Lord Clarendon has been holding communication with an illegal society in Dublin for upwards of 10 days. The Grand Orange Lodge, with its secret signs and passwords, has been plotting with His Excellency during the whole of that period. Now, this may seem strange, but it's a fact. And at the time, secret societies were banned from Ireland, as they were said to have acted in antagonism to the Land League, an Irish political organisation, according to Ireland's official records on statistics of eviction and crime. The Grand Orange Lodge is still around today, with clubs in Ireland, as well as others around the world. Prospective members of the Protestant fraternity don't take a pledge, they just have to affirm their acceptance of the principles of Reformation, as well as loyalty to their country. As to the question of whether they are anti-Roman Catholic, the official website states, this is bound to be really diplomatic, Orangism is... Orangism. Why is that even a word? Orangism is a positive rather than a negative force. It wishes to promote the Reformed faith based on the infallible Word of God, the Bible. Orangism doesn't or does not foster resentment or intolerance. Condemnation of religious ideology is directed against church doctrine and not against individual adherents or members. And as somebody who lives on the west coast of Scotland and who has to listen to the Orangemen playing in the month of July, their music going past my window, it's taken me all my time to read this diplomatically and with a smile on my face, and I wouldn't necessarily call them adherents to the kind of not going after individuals and things, but hey, apples and oranges. Apples and oranges.
Yeah, it was a very diplomatic way of saying, yeah, we don't like Catholics.
Yes, you could say there's a touch of animosity in the west coast of Scotland. Some equate it to our own holy war at times. More tongue-in-cheek than anything else. But, dude, you would need to be here. Yeah, you need to be here. I'm lucky Anne didn't wake up when I was talking about orange men or orangism, because she would have got up in a catatonic state. It would have triggered her for, like, the next week or so. It's a big thing in Glasgow. I had no idea till I came here, dude. You know, My reality, the north of Scotland, Catholics and Protestants, who cares? Your people, your neighbours, you work together. You come to Glasgow, oh, scary biscuits, dude. It's one of the first questions you're asked. Religion are you? What's that even matter? Because it matters in Glasgow. It matters.
Wow. Mm.
Yeah. Crazy, huh? My football team, it represents the Irish immigrants, the Catholic population that were here. And the other team, the rivals, they're your orange men. You can picture how friendly those after match kind of get-togethers are. It doesn't really go along with what they say on their website. And that's both sides, dude. Both sides are as bad as each other. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you ever want a really freaky Friday, you should come here when there's a cup final on. And then you'll see how freaky things really get.
So in your case, literally orange man bad down there.
This is the weird thing though, Scott, right? Because I'm not from Glasgow and it was never an issue to me. I'm baptized Protestant and I support Celtic because it was never a thing up there. So I'm like a cross. I'm like a mongrel. I'm like...
You're an outlier.
When they hear what religion I am, they wrongly assign a football team to me. And when they hear what my football team is, they wrongly assign a religion to me. And I just sit there and shut up. That's the best thing you can do, dude. Just, I support Inverness. Leave me out of it. Play dumb. I'm good at playing dumb. Talking of playing dumb, I'm going to shut up now. We are done, folks, but we're not done here on TFR. Brent Thomas is on the way. Don't go anywhere. He'll take you through the paranormal portal. I'll be back next week with KBS. Until then, wherever you are, make it TFR. Yeah, Scotty. It's when all the bad stuff was going on with that mob from the Middle East and things, you know, the guys with the black jumpsuits and the crazy tall dudes and all the rest of it. We were kind of shaking our heads. It was kind of like some people would joke in Glasgow that these guys, they need to sort it out. We've taken religious warfare to a level where we've got professional football teams that represent our hatred. And we just play it out on a football pitch. Far safer. Yeah? It's far more, I think it's far more civilized to take care of your differences on the football pitch, you know?
You got Wingnuts in the chat that said, William of Orange was directly responsible for ordering the slaughter of the McDonald's.
Oh, dude, there's like bad juju.
Definitely affected us, islands and islanders, Kev. Yeah, so I mean, there's some deep-rooted.
See what I'm saying? It triggers people, dude. It's like, wow, man. It proper triggers people. Proper. Yeah. It's like when you move to Glasgow, you should be given like almost a customization training. So, I mean, like I'm saying, where else in the world? You come from anywhere else in Britain, you're not really going to worry about what church you go to. You're not going to think that's going to be an issue normally, you know? But it is. But it is. Yeah, Scotland's biggest kept secret. That's what it is, Scotty. We've got jihad of our own here. 60 quid you can buy your favourite team's top. Support your team, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Telling you, dude, it's crazy stuff, man. Crazy. But anyway, we're out of time, and I'm still laughing because Spooky Andy's little emoji that he's got there. It's got to be the most lifelike emoji that we've actually got on the whole thing, right? It actually looks like Spooky Andy. Doesn't it?
Yeah, the resemblance is uncanny. It's quite funny, actually.
Very. They actually had sent me one of these Snapchat videos where it, like, face maps you onto, like, a rapper, and the rapper's in a video doing rappy, dancey things. I swear to God, dude, the one he sent me one time, if I could have put it on there tonight, I'd no way of saving it. It was on the phone and things. Hilarious. It looks like he's some mad gangster with a big fur coat on. And, oh, Giving it big licks, man. You're like, yes, dude, that's kind of like, in fact, you would have to probably bit of that. You see, every time I go to the soundboard, you'll see me kind of like clocking through the brain. Because half the time, Scott, I don't know what buttons I'm pressing here, dude. It's like a lottery. It's like a roulette. Who knows what we're going to get?
It's that intuition. It's that psychic ability. You're starting to just know where the button is without even.
Yeah. I bet you Anne's probably in the bed. Her spidey senses are going, how did I just wake up there? She's probably sensed me talking about that stuff, dude.
To say she's probably having a dream right now, or about the
Scott, like Anne being Glasgow born and bred, East End of Glasgow born and bred as well. It's a hatred that it's unrivaled, it's unparalleled. It's like, I mean, as somebody that's been in the army, and I've seen many a man's war face, like a proper war face. Nothing scares me like Anne when she gets on her sectarian high horse. Holy shit, dude.
That's what the word I was like. The sectarian.
Yeah, the sectarian violence.
The sectarian violence is just. Man, you guys ratcheted it up over there big time.
Like I say, dude, Scotland's biggest secret. Shh, don't tell anyone.
I try to explain these things to my mom, and it's like she doesn't understand how there can be such a hatred between,
Yeah, when you look into
it's just a cultural thing that I don't think she understands.
Like Wingnut said, when you start looking, see, Wingnut, you say it reached us up north. Not in my time, dude. This is the thing. You see, this is I don't hold on to things that happened in the 1700s and 1800s, so it never affected me when I was growing up in the Highlands. When I chose a football team, it was like nobody really cared. So it might have affected you, but it certainly didn't affect me until I came to Glasgow. Although I got a taste of it in the army. I did get a taste of it there because it was mainly the Protestant side, the Unionist side, the kind of the royal family, royalist type thing. So that's more your Rangers. So being a Celtic fan in the army, I did get a little taste of what was to come in Glasgow. But again, dude, it's like eye-opening. When you first get here, me explaining this to you and people listening to this will be like, Kev's at it. Totally at it. But you need to actually come here and experience it. It's crazy. Cray-cray.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Who knew?
It's wild.
And we're going to have to save that because I'm not even going to scroll down the other secret societies on there because we'll save it because there's some absolute crackers that are still to come. Absolute
we gotta get more into that. We definitely gotta get more.
Big time, dude. So we're going to take our leave now. I'm going to be taking tomorrow off. I love my Saturdays off now. I need to recharge. And I'll be back on Sunday with Bill. I'm not sure who Bill's got on this week. I'll need to check that out. But I'll be back on Sunday anyway. If anything huge happens in the world tomorrow, maybe I'll go live, but I wouldn't think so. So you all out there, be sure and have a good weekend. Remember what we were talking about earlier on with Andy in particular, about being positive. And I know it can be hard. I know it can be hell of a hard right now. But I think there's a lot to it. And just that change in attitude, shifting how you look at things, turn that frown upside down. And I'm not saying it's going to make everything go away, but it might put you in a better frame of mind to approach the exact same things that were seemingly quite daunting just before you had that change of attitude. So with that said, and I'm starting to ramble, it's time to get out of here. So until next time, keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo.